and then you can pop out the chat. In Zoom, it's best to probably just pin Jay's feed, and then you'll see what the audience is seeing, except we're 10 seconds ahead of them or something like that.
Yeah, what you see on my screen is what's live broadcasting, so you can always pin me as your main screen, if you know, because that's actually what's going out to everyone. So that's why I have that as my pick.
And the audience will ask questions in the Twitch chat.
Yes.
So, or you might see some of your friends and colleagues from the past.
Hello, Denise. Welcome.
Hello.
Broadcast from my personal computer. And actually, I'm going to go run and get my charging cable just a second.
Yeah, plenty of time. No problem.
You'll also probably see cameos by the kitten, whose name is Buster.
Ah, excellent. Stella will be bound to make an appearance when she gets fed up with me. Whew. Stella, my cat, which the audience can't see, but you guys can. She took a bite out of my Tasha's
Hook, yeah, right on the show the other night.
Last week. Yeah, during the show, she just nommed it.
Some others have criticized it as well.
Yeah, see, Stella is a 3rd edition fan. You know, she hasn't caved into 5th edition yet.
Some of us hasn't caved into 3rd.
Yeah, you have. You use feats and spells from 3rd edition.
Probably don't play 3rd edition.
You play 1.J.
Yeah, 1.J or
you do not play 1st
J or-
edition. Yeah.
I never said I played 1st edition.
Yeah, but you say I'm a 1E, 2E old school
I am.
guy. You
I am a
use
1E,
3rd
2E old school
edition spells
guy.
and feats.
Yeah.
Carlos would kick you out of the secret.
I think it sounds
Unless
more like
you're,
like
you so
75.
much.
Yeah.
Unless you're calculating FACO, you're not using one.
I calculate FACO. Oh yeah, see, there you go.
That goes
Yeah.
so dumb. I love playing at Jay's games, but it's so dumb.
It is. It was. There were the number of dumb things in 1E and 2E. It's just.
There are some great things.
Yeah,
So.
there's
Quick, tell me how to
there's
resolve a tie-in initiative in 1st edition.
Initiative is easy in my game.
Reroll?
Roll that 6-sided die.
You come back to weapon speed factors or reach depending on if you're closing.
see, Jay doesn't even use weapon speed factors or
Speed
spell
factor.
casting.
What the hell?
I used those for. Oh god.
Perfect for high school.
God, that's just slows the game down so
Too
much.
much work past high school.
And like the player's handbook, just put the spells in alphabetical order. I want to look up magic missile.
It's first level,
here it is.
Casey. You're just looking under first level. It's
What,
not that
First
hard.
level
what page
magic
is the
user
magic
spell.
user, right, or cleric, or druid spell? Yeah, no.
We're not edition worry.
Terrible. No, now this is layout boring. I don't complain about the layout.
Now, this is the time for weapon speeds, though, because we're all doing it online anyway, so you can have your
Online?
virtual tabletop. Virtual tabletop takes care of all of that.
Fantasy
Back in
World.
68
Must
or
be
something
using a
like
better-
that. I was 70.
Never.
My roll 20. No. Not that interesting.
I'm looking into Fantasy Grounds and other, or the BGTs that can actually do the weapon speeds.
Oh, I totally doubt it. By the
Well,
way,
they can do it-
There is.
I'm sure that somebody on
No.
Foundry has figured out.
No,
how to
no,
do it.
Fantasy
Yeah,
Grounds,
Foundry
Fantasy
might-
Grounds.
yeah.
Mike Wilson, Celestian has 2E, coded everything for 2E. It's called D&D Classic, and he just put Night Below in there.
Yeah, they probably did
Yeah.
so you can skip weapon speeds.
I think
I
weapon
don't.
speed-
They didn't have weapon speeds in 2E.
Yeah, they did. You added them to your initiative roll, just like casting random spells.
Yeah, it's just an initiative modifier.
Yeah, and I
Two
think
E?
officially,
Yeah.
your
I know it
initiative
did.
found
20.
when you're interruptible. So how many phases were interruptible during combat. And then you do some goofy thing for iterative attacks that I can't even remember this many years later.
Yeah, we did 5. I think it was 5 for whatever your last one was. For your next one.
But I think, Casey, you've been talking about why would anyone ever not use a bastard sword over longsword? Well, weapon speed is one of the reasons, and that's...
Okay, that makes sense, but we're not
If you're not using it,
there's no
sword
reason.
it is.
Sure there
I mean,
is.
we're really playing one
No, you're-
follow.
Right. Well, Jay was talking about, well, elves get a free proficiency with longsword. I don't care about that.
Elves,
kind of
elves
stuff.
get +1 to
Weapon,
hit with longsword.
weapon
Yeah, +1
to
hit.
weapon. If you're a human fighter who grows up in a farm and there's a longsword and a bastard sword, you should always grab the bastard sword.
Of course.
And what-
But there's
Sword.
rarely
But
a
there should
bastard
be a
swords
penalty,
there.
and third edition says we'll make it exotic.
And then in my game, if you have your choice between a longsword, a bastard sword, and a falx, which is a 1.5 weapon, you want to take the falx over both of them. But it's such a rare weapon, you're not taking falx all the time, right? See?
Yeah.
That's we could have a whole. nother
Yeah,
show
exactly.
where I just bitch about that.
Totally.
Exactly.
Denise, what years were you Triad? I asked everyone else. I'm just trying to put my thoughts together for the questions and whatnot.
I was trying to figure that out. I was after Chris, before Russ, or sort of with Russ and Mike.
All right, so I've got Chris at year 0 to the end of 1, early 2. I've got Russ at year 1 to 3. So were you actually year 0 part of the planning, or you were year
not.
1?
I was after Chris. I was year 4, I believe.
Okay.
4
Maybe,
through 7.
maybe 3, maybe 4.
Maybe 3.
It's
I ran a lot of cons in year 3, and
Hopefully
but I
that's
don't think
too
I
bad.
joined the Triad until year 4. Maybe.
Okay, and then to year 7, but not the end of the campaign.
Yeah.
Did you guys anyone continue playing to wrap up the storylines? You guys know what happened in the DOU in year 8?
I played one less interactive than I was. The whole Parador conspiracy came out. Then I kind of
All right, well we'll get into
pointed out
that
that
Casey's
later.
deep
David.
delving now.
They were supposed to be gone. Never mind.
We'll save,
That was the
we'll save
point
the
of
plot
them.
talk. Abort. We'll save that for later. Okay.
Both. So it's probably a hair louder, because it's. But like I said, I got all this brand new music that I own the rights to, so I got to play it. So, oh yeah, because
Yeah. Sorry.
It's all
what
good.
was I gonna say? All right. Well, we've got from like year 0 to year 7 here, just massive range. Which is awesome.
Yeah. After the first couple of years, you can tell mostly who the Triads are because it says it on the adventures if you have the adventures. And even if you don't have the adventures, if you go to RPG Geek, you can see the first page of the adventure. And so that's the way you can kind of sleuth your way through most of the Triads, which I've sort of done. Don't really remember. I did that when I was trying to help Casey find all of them.
Yeah, and John really did a great job helping me put this together. So I appreciate that, John. Plus, I don't think I managed to kill you during the BK tournament either, did I? I think you
No,
just
man.
went down in the final encounter.
yeah, unfortunately, David, I can't make a change of that. So I can't change the stream is starting, but I can go to this screen, Dave. So here we go. We'll come on 2 minutes early tonight. How's that sound? After we go to the entry screen here. So, boom. Lots of guests tonight. I got almost the Hollywood Squares filled, everyone. So we're gonna have a lot of nice discussion. And thank you for coming on. I see people still coming on. And another Casey. I wonder how many Legends and Lores living Greyhawks we've had. This has got to be at least 12. What do you think?
Oh,
Yeah, I think it's.
I mean, we've been doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, one
It's
of
been a
them.
year.
Plus the ones I did with them,
Yeah.
Anna and Mike before you.
Yeah, we did
Co-hosted
at
the
least
show.
1 or 2.
Right,
Yeah.
you did. Hang on, I've got a file for that.
David, did you get
Conrad
my?
helped
Did you
me
get
out
my?
with
David, did you get my Discord? Check your Discord, man. I asked you a question about next week's show. You and Tommy John Kelly. All right.
This may be 13. I need to update my list. But I think going back to episode 35.
Okay, cool. It doesn't have to be next week. I can push it back a week.
Jay, did you catch that? This may be the 13th one.
13th. Okay. Sorry.
I think we first came on episode 35. What episode is this?
78.
Yep.
Getting up there.
Maybe I may have
78, and we have 100. We've done we're going 122 Gabbins this Sunday. So
I may have 2 entries here, so it's 12 and 13.
Well, let's do it the week after, David. We don't have to do it next week. Can you do it in 2 weeks? We'll do it 2 weeks.
Well, Trevor's told me I was still trying it.
2 weeks is fine, man.
Who was that?
What day?
Russ saying that the covers
I might be off by a year then, maybe.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised it's that blurry, but you know what? That was 16 years ago. Dear Lord.
Boom.
And we
Good
don't wanna
evening.
forget.
How's everyone? What a packed crowd tonight. Everyone knows I'm Jay Killer Gazumba. Thank you for coming on and participating in another Living Greyhawk Legends and Lore episode. And this time we have some wonderful people, Triads from the era of during the Duchy of Urnst years. So welcome everyone. Thank you for coming on. Joining me as usual is Anna Meyer and Mike Bridges. And then our special co-host is Casey Brown, who always comes on for the Living Greyhawk ones and knows the right questions to ask. And then please welcome, let's see, we got Christopher Jarvis. I'm going to go clockwise. We got Denise Malden. Did I say that properly, Denise? Malden. Okay, thank you. Russ Taylor. Mike Hockstad. Did I say that right?
Good enough.
And John Dawes, who's welcome back, as John is in Dickerus. You may know him in very active in Discord, and also was a Triad in Zeef and joined us for that show. So welcome, everyone. Thank you for coming on. What a fun crew tonight. So Casey, this one seems like the Triads are bouncing in and out. It sounds like from the pre-discussion here. So what do you think? What do you think about this one?
Well, we've got a huge crowd, and thanks to John here, what happened is I reached out. John gave me a bunch of names, and then as soon as I got hold of one person, they gave me more names, and it kept just escalating. And normally I throw, spaghetti at the wall, and I get a few things to stick. But this time we got a lot to stick. So we have 5 of you here, which is fantastic because we cover years 0 to 7 with this great crowd. Some of the audience members who are Cannon Fire people might recognize Russ Taylor from the Thursday night Cannon Fire chats. Russ, I forget what your online nickname is on Cannon Fire. Can you remind us?
Usually our Taylor, I imagine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But so some of you out there recognize Russ from that. Also, big time freelancer, right, Russ? You did a lot of stuff with 3rd edition and Paizo.
Mostly with Pathfinder, but yeah, that was in a past life, but probably 40 or 50 titles.
Fantastic. Correct me if I'm wrong. Do I remember seeing your name on a couple of the black bordered 2E books, or am I incorrect there?
First freelancing I did for WotC was a RPG module. One of the cores in year 1, Living Greyhawk, Myard and Gosford.
Okay.
Well, that's a good segue. There's a lot of us here, so maybe we can do a short version of how did you all get involved with the Living Greyhawk campaign? Specifically, did you play Living City beforehand or any other Living campaigns? Did you just bumble into it like I did? Were you a player before you were Triad? Just kind of give us the short rundown if you don't mind. And Jay, you can do the Hollywood Squares.
Sure, and I think we'll do it that way. It's really
Ladies
the most
first.
simple. Yes, Denise, how did you come across Living Greyhawk and all its wonders?
Sure. So I went to NorwestCon for many, many years, which is a big sci-fi convention in Seattle. And I stumbled into the organized playroom somewhere around year 2 or year 3, created a paladin, and then I think I played her all the way through all the everything until she retired and became an NPC at level 16. Before I became Triad, I ran a bunch of conventions in the local area, and I was a member of the Seattle Mob. And so we were an organized play group that ran out of Seattle or Bellevue, depending.
That sounds like the name up for a Shadowrun group, not a Greyhawk group. That's awesome.
Yeah.
We ran lots of things, so all the living campaigns. I didn't personally play in any other living campaigns before. I did play Living Force and Eberron, I think, afterwards.
Yeah, it's kind of like most of the Triads were so burned, it seems like they just dropped off. But then there's a couple who went into other ventures, just because of how much management had to be done. And it's just, I'm imagining that happened with some of you, and I know we can discuss that as we go. But
Yeah, let's not get to the burnout in the first 5 minutes of the show, Jay.
oh, we've done it
Come
so many.
on.
It's like, oh my gosh.
That's
So
why I'm on here, guys. So I stopped Jay from asking those questions too early.
Chris, how about you? How did you
Well,
stumble across
I had been a long-time Greyhawk player and game master since the Folio came out, so back in the 80s at some point. And I was living in Seattle I think when 3E first came out, and I went to a convention called Dragonflight, and they were putting on an interactive for the year zero, the first year zero interactive. And I sort of stumbled into that and started, because I'm sort of I did a lot of SCA stuff, so I volunteered to be the herald for the event, and so I stumbled into it that way. And then I didn't even have any experience with 3E at that point. And then shortly after that, who was it? Bill Steer and Ryan Hicks, who were the Triad at the time, were looking for somebody else to join the Triad, because I don't remember the Bob.
Was that Bob? Yeah.
Bob
Ayman?
Bob Iman. Yeah, Bob Iman had dropped out. He didn't have enough time. He's a lawyer, so at the time, so he didn't have enough time to do it. And so I submitted my application, and based on the fact that I had, I don't know, at that point, I guess close to 10, 15 years of Greyhawk experience where they had none, solidified my position as on the Triad. And then they rapidly dropped out. And so, and never returned. And then I brought in Russ and it's other folks. So yeah, that was where I started.
There's two things there that I'd like to tack on to. One is we've heard from a lot of the year 0, year 1 guys about the early burnout. We all experienced it, but the year 1, year 0 guys, even in the BK, other regions, they got in, they got overwhelmed. They didn't get much support from the RPGA because, Eric and Steven weren't getting much support apparently, or were overworked. And then they just, disappeared basically. And then the second thing, you mentioned a year 0 interactive. This is only the second one I've heard about. The Joff guys mentioned having a huge year 0 interactive battle against giants, in which it was some sort of second edition, pre-third edition event. And they killed everybody. Basically, the whole point. Who cares, right? It's a one shot.
I had heard about that. Yeah, the guys in
Okay,
Virginia.
so what'd
were
you guys
wild.
do?
Well, I
And who
actually
was
I got a copy of the files for that because we tried to do something similar later. But then I don't know where they are now. But I definitely had a copy of everything that they had.
Well, you're gonna have to find that.
At the time, Dragonflight was held
Russ will be
at
back.
Seattle University, which is a Jesuit college in downtown Seattle. and we were on the roof of the library because you had to basically, I think you had to go out a window to get onto it. So just vaguely remembering that. And it was the election of a counselor for the on the Duchy Council or something like that. And so we had various people who were NPCs and going around touting their qualifications, and we would get everybody to eventually to vote for it, and we'd have a small I think there was a couple of adventures, a couple of small minis that went along with it to help figure out, you know, I don't know. I think there was some fighting or something that went on with that. But yeah, it started as a kind of a two-part. There was an interactive version where we were live, and then there was some tabletop that we moved. I think we moved to that and then back to the for the election. So it was.
Was that an empty seat?
It was an empty seat. That's what it was. Yes.
I have the DM info document for an
wow.
empty seat.
Yes.
Right
That's
here.
funny.
And
That's
followed
too
by
funny.
the C.
So was that
the
second edition or was that third edition?
That was early third.
Early.
I don't
third.
even think they had.
It
They
was
didn't have
not
everything out already. They
Right.
didn't. Not everything
Because if
was
it was
already
year
published.
zero, right? Not all
Yeah.
the books would be out yet.
Yeah, not all the books were
Pre-gens,
published.
I take it.
well, empty seat was mostly a role play thing.
Like a LARP?
Yeah, so
Okay.
it wasn't. I don't even know. I don't know if there was any fighting in it at all. I think that part there wasn't.
I think there was some investigation because I sat
Yeah.
a table for it, but it was it was pretty wild.
Yeah, I wasn't involved in it. I didn't hear about it until after that. But it was apparently 2 hours.
Yeah,
It was
yeah, it was
supposed
about
to be a
2 hours.
2-hour thing. Everybody talks, and it was really to decide, I guess, which of these noble houses was going to get the seat. And they determined it at this interactive, and it comes into play in later adventures.
Oh yeah, there was a.
So it
there was
does
a
tie
whole-
in.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah, we tied it. We were pretty good when I was there of tying in all of the stuff into an overall plot line. So yeah.
That's fascinating because the Jeff guys, it was just kill everyone, you know, have a good time.
Well, I mean, for them, I mean that makes sense because it was all about reclaiming the place from the Giants after that. So.
So I can tell you for trivia's sake, who wrote that. The first writer was Ryan Hicks, who was, I believe, one of the first Triads.
Yes, he was. Ryan, yep, Ryan was one of the first Triads. He and Bill Steer and Bob Eamon were the first Triad.
Well, Mike, how did you get involved?
Well, I was living in Saskatchewan in the 90s, and a local con ran a couple tables of Living City. And so I played a couple tables of Living City. And then my friend and I decided to go to Gen Con in 2000. And so we were there right at the kickoff for third and for the first few core adventures.
Oh, wow.
And so then I went back to Saskatchewan and ran those first handful of core adventures so many times for locals. And then it was all we had. But then we moved to Seattle in 2001. And I got in at Dragonflight 2001 for the second interactive, I guess, that we had. And a month later, I was helping run the BorderCon, the first one. So I jumped all the way in within a month, basically.
And you were never an admin in Living City. You just played.
No, I got a character up to 4th level, I think.
Right.
That
So
was
you got
as far as I
a
ever
3
got.
+ 5 swords and left the campaign. That's my joke about Living City.
Well, one of my Gen Con tables, this kid and his grandmother were playing together, and we got towards the end, and they just grabbed the treasure and ran.
What?
And they got the DM to sign their certs, and they left.
It's kind of like Eric grabbing your artifact, Jay.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that was pretty funny, I guess, in hindsight. But my buddy and I were a little steamed.
So for the audience, Living City also used the certificate system, right? I don't know if it invented it, but like if you got a sword, you physically got a piece of paper that was signed by the dungeon master, and it would say, you know, long sword +1 and its cost and its value, or special things on it. And Living Greyhawk did that for a while as well. But so what Mike is saying, these people like physically grabbed the certs?
No,
Or their
they in character
characters-
grabbed the treasure and fled,
Got
and
it.
then out of character got the cert signed
Got the
and fled.
certs, yeah. Wow.
That's wonderful.
But yeah, so I was active in the Seattle mob right from 2001. For quite a while, we actually played our game days in the cafeteria at Wizards of the Coast.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
So and a lot of the stuff that we got to do first, we kind of got to do first because we had access to SRM mostly.
Right.
Like he was right there. So
Did he ever use you guys as play testers or anything like that?
no, but you know, when we wanted to do, like, we did the first 2 Region Con, and mostly it was just because we could talk to him in person about it, I think is what got us over the hump.
Well,
of
that's great.
being able to do it.
You guys did it with the COU, right?
Yeah.
The county for the
Yeah,
audience.
just over the border in Idaho.
Wallace.
Yeah, Wallace, Idaho.
So I didn't realize you
Yeah.
guys did the first border, but that's awesome because, like, we got to do the BK and Yeomanry, which doesn't make sense on Greyhawk, but it's Texas and Louisiana.
Well,
then
yeah,
we-
yeah. Go
And
ahead.
then we did BK and County of Urnst, which is Texas and what was it? The Arizona or Colorado or
Yeah, well,
whatever.
all the way up to Montana. The county went all the way up to Montana, Idaho. But I don't think there was a lot active going on in Idaho or Montana for long.
very cool.
Yeah, but it was a little bit of an awkward thing because it was like September 18th, 2001, and we had half of our region was in Canada. Crossing the border that particular week was a little
Wow.
awkward.
Yeah.
So about half the Canadians that were committed.
Yeah, they
gone.
wouldn't come across. They were afraid they wouldn't be able to get back.
yeah.
Yeah. So it ended up being not a problem, but like, yeah, some of our key people didn't show up. I know because I was running the interactive there, and the internet wasn't the greatest in 2001. So I was
Yeah.
counting on people coming with physical copies of adventures for the interactive, and those were people that didn't come.
Yeah.
So,
we
did a lot of
we would have to
improvising
bring a
that day.
printer to our conventions and pray we brought enough ink and whatnot.
Oh, back in that day, we had to, because we were still running certs, we had to print out
Mhm.
certs and cut them at the table sometimes, and it was
Yeah.
just. And then we were because the first year, or actually year 0, gave nothing for treasure. I mean, no money. It was pretty desperate for people who were trying to just scrape up to get money to get they want to cure light wounds and stuff like that. It was
Jay,
it
ask him
was-
about doors.
we were just we were like
We-
we kept begging them, would you please give us the ability to give them treasure? Nope, can't give them anything.
So were you door thieves and flower thieves and nails
Oh,
thieves
we stole
too?
everything. We greyhawked bodies like nobody's business.
So
In
every
Economy-
region,
Oh.
every single region says
Was that
this.
it's like a recurring theme in
Yeah.
Living Greyhawk that there were
Oh,
the
that's
characters
so
with
awesome.
dirt
Yeah,
poured
let's
through
steal
it.
a
Oh
door,
yeah,
man.
you wouldn't. Yeah, I mean,
And they
Got
didn't
a
fix
price
it
in the
over for
player's
like
handbook,
almost a
take it.
decade. They didn't fix it.
It got fixed sort of once we got to adventure records instead of certs,
Okay.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
everything sort of got more formalized, and
Right.
it kind of got abstracted even where it
Yeah.
didn't matter what you
Right.
did, you get this much gold at the end.
Yeah, they should have
Right.
had at least someone up there
But-
that
but
had
the
an economy
year-
degree or something. You could fix that. And look into
Well,
it.
the year 1 stuff, they were just super
Oh.
stingy. And then they
Yeah.
would do weird shit
That I
like
can
the core
understand.
mod with Brindigan and his cursed necklace. The thing was worth 20,000 gold pieces. A player in the Bandit Kingdoms who was playing a rogue kept stealing it from him and selling it, and then it would return to her, right? Because that was the curse. And apparently, this happened at Gen Con, and the circle had to pull her aside and say, like, no, you don't have 60,000 gold pieces. Give us that back. Give us your character sheets or whatever before the adventure records.
wow.
But no, that's interesting to hear about the lack of money in the DOU.
Yeah,
Is the Duchy a well-off country by Greyhawk standards?
Oh yeah. It's
Yeah.
supposed to
Yeah.
be very wealthy. It's supposed to, it's been settled since the Sewell came across, and it was, very wealthy country. Lots of minerals, lots of gnomes.
Also,
yeah, gem mines especially were a big thing, and they featured in the adventures.
I reread one of the year one modules, and it's in one of the noble houses, and you can steal stuff from the noble house, and it talks about the valuable antiques and that they're all worth like 15 gold, and that one's worth 7 gold, and this one's worth.
Well, maybe we should have had a silver economy, but that's
It seemed like it at times.
Yeah.
I think it was probably an overreaction to Living City, maybe. I don't know.
That's a good point, and we didn't think to ask SRM that when we had him on.
I would say that's absolutely the truth, because people were complaining about it. I recall people complaining about Living City and how it was just Monty Hall and ridiculous.
Yeah.
If you were a starting person playing it, you would have nothing, and you might be at a table with someone who is a billionaire, basically. And it made this huge disparity. So they decided probably just to make everybody poor. Until the Splat books came out and they wanted to sell them.
Right.
It's just, I guess they didn't know what they were doing. It just didn't make sense. But you know what? Now we can really laugh at it.
Because we had
all the fun.
We had there was an adaptable module, because in that time they had 3 types. There were cores, there were regionals, and adaptables could be played in any. Had to be were written
adaptable.
Yeah, you could adapt them for any region. So there was one called Knights Out. What was it? Knights Outing? It had a were-rat. Anyway, we had more people turn into were-rats due to that, because of the fact that nobody had any silver weapons. Nobody had silver weapons.
And you would never have enough, say, magic users in a party to be able to kill something like that. And in Living Greyhawk, if you got lycanthropy, you were screwed. You got to play until it was determined there was a full moon.
Yeah.
Right? But you couldn't play.
At the beginning of the adventures, there was a little blurb that said, if, depending upon when the module is set, what's the state of the moon.
Right. Yeah. But they quit doing that eventually, because no one really was.
All the first year mods did say what the phase of the moon was. I don't remember if it kept going into second. It eventually went away.
Was that you think core mods or all the regionals too?
The regionals.
Our regionals had them. I know that for sure.
It was part of the boilerplate.
Yep.
Oh. I'll have to go and take a look at some of those early ones. That's cool. But eventually, Living Greyhawk made the decision. If you got lycanthropy, you either pay to have the remove curse or whatever, or you were removed from the campaign.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah, a lot of stuff went from real particular to sort of abstracted over the course of it. Like, it was really specific and particular at the start. By the end, it was pretty abstract, a lot of it.
Yeah.
So, when Russ comes on, we have to ask Russ about how he got in. But John,
right.
So initially, how'd you make your entrance?
Well, I was I was a co-founder of this thing in Vancouver called the Vancouver Gaming Guild, with a couple of other guys, and we basically started out as just a Yahoo group to get gamers together. We immediately started organizing conventions because we found we had enough people involved, and then it seemed like we were looking around for what can we do to get lots of people, and the living campaigns. Living Greyhawk was brand new. This was, I guess, 2000 was when we started the Vancouver Gaming Guild, or maybe late 1999, and so basically Living Greyhawk had just come out, and then there was also Living City, and I made up a character for every one of them. I downloaded the document, and I made my Living Death character. I made my virtual Seattle character. I made basically every one of them, and they're like, okay, I'm ready to play. And obviously, Living City was sort of on its way out with a lot of people. Living Death was an interesting idea that
niche.
got off the ground.
Right. So such a small following, Living Death.
Yeah, it was like D&D set in real world 19th century, but with kind of gothic horror stuff thrown in. I thought it was pretty cool, but I only ever played one adventure of it. I did manage to play one adventure of every single Living campaign, which was really cool.
Oh my gosh.
Mostly because I coerced people to run them.
Yeah, Mask of the Red Death. It's pretty cool.
And there was a Living Call of Cthulhu very briefly in the RPG.
Arcanus.
Yeah, Living Arcanus was very popular. especially with people who were exiting and frustrated with living Greyhawk. Actually, it was very much a schism and splinter thing. We had both very well featured at our conventions. So yeah, we were in our Vancouver cons made use of living Greyhawk to fill our seats, and we never really stopped doing that, to the point where we actually were criticized by not having enough diversity. You go to a convention in Vancouver and 75% of the tables are living Greyhawk, and I'm trying to recruit everybody to be a GM for living Greyhawk, so they're not GMing your indie games that people wanted to play as well. I said, you can all do it if you want to, but I really need these judges.
And I'll be the jerk that says I don't care about the other campaigns. My job as a living Greyhawk, first of all, Greyhawk fan, as a player, and then module author, and then Triad assistant, and then Triad member, was to get living Greyhawk interest. And at conventions in Texas and Oklahoma, as far as I can recall, living Greyhawk was probably 80 to 90% of them, and we'd have like 1 or 2 tables of Arcanus and Force and Death, and maybe even Kingdoms of Calamar. What was it? Living Kingdoms of Calamar.
Okay.
gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, they had a living
campaign.
I'd never heard of that.
Yeah.
Played
But,
one adventure of that too.
Legends of Erd.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
I don't know whether John, did you ever do any Midrith?
No, I didn't even hear of that one. So
Yeah.
maybe I missed one.
Well, that was strictly a Vancouver and Seattle thing for the most part. So.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yes.
I
Dale
did do
and I-
that. I did do that
Dale
with
and I
Dale.
did that because I know Chris played, Slater played.
Yes, I played with Chris.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, because I know that
I
some of you
forgot about
guys.
that.
Slater is on. He is watching.
Oh,
I
he's
forgot
on.
about
Oh yeah.
Slater.
Yeah, I played a couple of sessions of that. It was that was
I think we were.
very
It was probably
low.
up over in Vancouver or over in Victoria.
I'm pretty sure you were my GM actually when
I think I was, John.
I
Crazy.
remember it being brutal.
Oh, I was terribly kind. I
So-
haven't changed at all.
Let me
Denise can
segue you guys.
attest.
Let me get you guys back on track with Duchy stuff. We've got Gary Holian in the audience, one of the co-authors of the Living Greyhawk Gazetteer. I asked him, hey, who wrote the DOU section in the LGG? And he said he thinks it was probably Eric Mona. How much of LGG, Chris, did you guys take from in the early campaigns and run with? Like, what were the plots that DOU started with?
Okay, so we had one major plot in the year 0, which was to have we were given an opportunity to have, I think, 3 artifacts for the Duchy, and so we wanted to figure out a way to get those in the
What?
player.
Who
Yeah.
who gave you that?
That was every region had 3 artifacts. We had a shield.
You
We had a
didn't get
shield
Many
that would
kingdoms
give you
didn't.
Exactly.
strawberries or something like that. We had a couple others that we never quite got around to giving out. I think I might have searched for them somewhere.
We got screwed.
Yeah.
Betting
So you
you
had
got
3
screwed,
artifacts
yeah.
that you would. So our goal was I think it was for year 1, was to introduce a bad guy or a bad force, and then just have them be responsible for all the horrible stuff that happened, and then kill them all off, and then everything would sort of revert back to them, but we would go on to do other things. And so that was within a year we introduced and killed off House Terranor, which was this noble house, and we had all of our plots were tied into the fact that they were influenced by demons and devils and just very thoroughly horrible people. They were Sewell, so that it was believable. And they were thoroughly horrible, and we worked very hard to make them the bad guys behind everything that went on. And then the culmination was supposed to be this rather brutal module called Last Dance at Heron House, where you got to go in and because none of the characters at the time were a high enough level, the job of the characters was to go in there and just sort of hold a beachhead while the heroes of the campaign went off to do something. They were introduced sort of in a cutscene, and the heroes went off to do stuff, and the players were left to, okay, we'll just hold things here.
They were the
And then,
grunts.
of course, it didn't work out like that because, strangely enough, we wanted to get the adventurers involved in the adventure, and so they had to go into the house and start dealing with these terrible Terranor brothers who were just foul beings, and many people did not survive it. But at the end, there was supposed to be, oh yay, we won, and that was supposed to be the kickoff to further adventures. I don't know that we ever planned anything after that. I think we had a hard enough time trying to find writers to do things in the early years, so it was running an overall plot after that. I don't know. Did we run anything after that?
Well,
Russ?
that's what I was
don't
going to
know.
ask. Did you guys do a 5-year plot arc?
Yeah, it involved Carl stepping down and being replaced by Lord Ellis. So that's about all I remember about it. Who was being manipulated by his rather unpleasant mother, I believe.
There was a rumor that Carl was like a devil or something, wasn't there? And that he'd been replaced by at an interactive somewhat time.
I think
For us non-DOU folks, who's Carl?
He was
the
Duke Carl, the
Carl.
Duke of the
Oh,
Duchy
yeah.
of Urnst.
And he's in the LGG as the ruler.
Yeah,
Yeah.
World 2
It's
Elves.
that
Yeah.
he was 5th or 6th in line for the throne, and every one of his older brothers and sisters met an unhappy end in one fashion or another.
Sounds like the Great Kingdom almost.
Yeah, no, you sure he wasn't from the Band of Kingdoms?
And in the course of that, because of the specific order the brothers died in, Ellis, I believe, was the 2nd or 3rd son, and his father died without ever being directly in line for the throne. So his branch of the family was just passed right over for Carl, partially because he was a little kid. So that's the origin of him thinking he had a claim on the throne. And we worked with the idea, well, what if his mother was partially behind all the other people dying? And her son died for unrelated reasons. Because they were going off and fighting giants and all sorts of stupid things like that. And, fighting the Aberrals. So Carl was in charge of the duchy and really didn't want to be. He just wanted to be out doing his ranger thing, but Diddy called.
So a couple things, Russ, and we haven't gotten to how you got involved. Gary Julian's giving you some kudos out here. My regards to Russ Taylor, who showed up regularly in Greyhawk 20 years ago. Good guy. So that's from Gary.
Yeah.
That's how I got into the.
That's right. Yeah.
Really?
From
Greyhawk.
Online community, got sucked into Living City a very tiny bit online that way, and then they announced that a new edition was coming out, and they were going to do a whole new living campaign, and it was going to be Greyhawk, and I just jumped in with both feet and went to my first Gen Con to see the official start of year 1.
Wow.
And
Wow.
not long after that, managed to weasel my way into the Triad.
Oh, it was no weaseling. You were one of our first positions we decided to create was a high canonist.
Yeah.
For someone in charge of the canon of the duchy, and that was Russ.
Yeah,
that's a good idea.
Oh, yeah.
I had a pretty complete Greyhawk library, and I had indexed every darn mention of the duchy I could find in anything.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And
That
you
is an
mentioned the
awesome
folio.
title.
This is what got me into the game.
There you go. You got a rare small book box.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is awesome. So we're getting some questions from the audience, and Urnst is so close to Greyhawk City, but it seems like the Aberrals and the Cairn Hills prevent a lot of adventuring from crossing over. So like I do a lot in Greyhawk in my game. I do a lot in Harby, and I do a lot in the Cairn Hills, but I rarely move into Urnst. Is that it feels like it's kind of insulated. Is that the feeling that you had during your campaigning, or no?
Well, we had go ahead, Russ.
It certainly is implied it's isolated because of being almost racially pure.
Okay. So it's more because it's Sewell.
the nature of the regional campaign was, even if you were in the middle of 10 regions, you still would feel a little bit isolated, just because of the nature of how the regional events would work, or adventures.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say players were constantly over in Greyhawk though, because that's where a lot of the cores were. So
Okay.
So that made
we,
sense for you guys. You're in the
oh, yeah,
Bandit
it was like-
Kingdoms.
yeah,
1 week you're in Rook Roost.
but they
And
wouldn't
then-
let us at the time. They wouldn't let us do anything with Malray Castle. So we were like,
Right.
yeah, there were certain things we
Because-
weren't able to touch.
Now we know
Well, you
what they
said
were
at the
doing.
time was
Yeah.
Now we know there's a big article coming out in the Dragon about it, or Dungeon. Which one was that, Gary, that you worked on, Mark Castle? I mean, it was a huge, and Eric Mona had a thing for it too, according to Gary.
Let's see. You can't mess with the ghost tower, and you can't do anything with the seeker.
Yeah, we were all told that. Every region we
so-
talked
so-
to. The
yeah.
the Joff guys couldn't do anything with Drow.
Yeah.
We couldn't do anything with Stoink.
So
Every
every
Whoa.
region had to
handcuffed.
invent their own iconic locations and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
for
certainly
us,
had quite a few interesting places with the geography of we had some very good mappers early in the campaign who did some tremendous maps that
Yeah, I've seen them. They're good.
And I
that
think
were really
Sultaran, you guys created a
Yeah.
really iconic city with the
that was
Like the
just
capital.
that was just yes, implausible but fun. Yeah.
The rogues were great.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and everybody's favorite was what was the night where
The
nothing
night where
happened.
nothing happened.
The
Yeah.
night where nothing happened.
It was
The
an
kid got
adventure.
ran and ran and ran as
Oh
Oh my
interactive.
god.
So I want to talk
What-
about
what
the night
is
where
this?
nothing
I've never
happened,
heard of
actually.
Yeah,
Years
John,
and
please.
years
I want to
and
hear about
years.
this. I want to
The
hear.
night
Yeah,
where nothing
yeah. It
happened.
sounds interesting. Sounds like
So-
a Seinfeld episode.
Yeah, well, basically, it was an adventure in the first year of the campaign. It was actually part of this Terranor stuff that
Yep.
Chris was talking about. It was the second adventure in what was supposed to probably be a trilogy, but ended up going on, as Chris has mentioned. But the idea of it was that Sultaran, Lukish and Sultaran both had their rogue guilds, but Lukish's rogues got out of hand and they got their asses kicked. And basically, they cleaned up the city. The rogues in Sultaran were like, "Oh, we don't want that to happen here. So we need to have kind of more central leadership." There was this one guy, I can't remember his name now. I think it started with an M. Can't remember his name. Anyways, he basically wanted to,
Messeri.
Messeri. You got it, Janice. Yeah. So good work. That guy said, "Okay, we're gonna start to keep things civil, and I want to make sure everyone can do what they're told." And so he basically made this event called the Night Where Nothing Happens, where he challenges all the rogues in the city to steal really important and obvious things that people would be really upset if they went missing, steal them and give them to him, and he put them back again. And it was a contest, and you got really, really good things, like you could become get your own merchant ticket or something like that.
Oh yeah, the rewards were pretty cool.
Yeah. So yeah, and people loved this. This was
Oh,
a
yeah.
very, very popular adventure in our first year stuff. And in the first adventure, these jerks from House Terranor were killing off all the teams
Yeah.
so they could win it themselves and wreck everything because they're the big
Yeah.
And
bad.
something would happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And something would happen, and yeah, be so obvious, these murders in the streets. So you had the opportunity, if you're playing lawful good paladins and priests and stuff like that, you could go, instead, we're not going to be involved in this. We're going to investigate the murders. So it basically became a split between
Very
the two
nice.
things. So you could do it either way, and that was very well done. That was very cool, and people loved it so much because that they made it an annual event. And I think every year after that, we had an interactive of the Night Where Nothing Happened. And I believe it was often an interactive that was written so you could run it wherever you wanted. So people in Victoria would be doing it, people in Seattle would be doing it, in Vancouver. It wouldn't be one you had to travel for. Every place got to do the Night Where Nothing
That's
Happened.
cool.
Oh wow.
And I think at least once we did the night where something happened, where things went awry again.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's very cool to hear that you guys did a thematic succession of interactives. I think we've heard that from a couple different regions. In the Bandit Kingdoms, we had a great hunt in the Tangles Forest, and every year some weird bullshit would happen, but everyone looked forward to it.
Yeah,
So
I think there was tiers of freedom that we had, and the most freedom was at the interactives, where we could almost. I mean, we couldn't do whatever we wanted, but we had more freedom to do more creative, interesting things.
I think.
Well, they weren't reviewed by the RPGA.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's exactly it. The cert was.
There was a loose guidelines that we had, but beyond that, we did a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, I took advantage of that big packet of interactive certs they gave us once upon a time.
Oh,
I think it was at the first BorderCon.
Yes.
So we managed to really set up how the Renee reviewed in both the county and Duchy with an interactive called Barge Right In, where we
Barge
had
Right In.
little
Oh my god.
That was mine.
Some of which were complete garbage, and some of which were relatively good things.
That's right. The luck of, I remember those. God.
So the idea was we had this merchant who was trying to rip people off, but he'd actually in the process gotten some things that were real treasure they didn't know about. So he'd sell people magic rocks, and I believe one of them was a luck stone, but most of them were masterwork sling bullets.
Yeah.
So there were some people who spent a lot of money on completely garbage certs who really hated the Renee ever after.
Well, with search you can do that. I mean, that was part of the thing between that and the search. We had these custom-made certs created certificates for the artifacts that we were going to give away, the sword and the shield and the other thing. So that was part of the reason why the RUPs were not oh well, I guess we can't do that. So
right.
Did you guys get any certed weird races? Like Joff has a hobgoblin PC.
No.
And then there was another region I think that got some other ones. It was just some charity cert. I think they talked SRM into. They said
a bugbear, wasn't there a bugbear?
I don't remember the bugbear, but I know there was a hobgoblin, and that was a big deal.
Yeah, there were a bunch of them in the cores. There was the centaur in the cores.
Well, that was when they wanted to sell the book.
Yeah,
the desert book.
Goliath,
so what would be the big bad monsters in the DOU? Are you fighting? You're not fighting IUs, right? Because
so
you're insulated.
Or beyond.
I remember
Tone
the first year we were actually limited because the monster year zero because the monster manual wasn't out yet. All of our monsters, everything was a human. So
humans should be the most dangerous.
Yeah,
thing.
I mean that was the only foes we had for year zero. I think. I think we eventually
in the
were rats. They were were rats. Yeah. Yeah, there were whatever was in the back of the. It was one of the books that had the
Player's Handbook had monsters for the adventure at the back of it.
Yes, we could use.
So you could steal those, right?
Yeah. Oh my god.
I think dire rats were in there.
Yeah.
But in later years, did you guys have any dragons or mind flayers or classic monsters?
Darrow.
I think we went back to demons more than anything else.
Demons.
Yeah. Demons.
In the first year.
People.
And we did have an undead phase as well.
Yep.
So was House Telenor a bunch of demon worshippers or no? Or was it just
they didn't just worship them. Let's just say
they were some of them were partially Cambions. And
nice.
They were
half demons.
Yeah. And you're using the right word, Cambions and Alu demons, right?
Yeah.
There you go. Awesome.
I think Michael also had the Veil taken over by orcs.
That's right. We did have the Veil interactive. I remember that.
Let me just tack on to Jay's Cambion comment. For anyone out there in the audience who poo-poos 5th edition tieflings, they're friggin' Cambions, people. Get over it.
And
been in canon forever. And if you poo-poo Dragonborn, they're half dragons. They've been in canon forever. Get over it.
This is Casey starting trouble, not me.
That's all right.
Oh,
Hail IUs.
I totally agree on the tiefling ones that they are.
Yeah, Cambions are because IUs is a Cambion. So
yeah.
Yep.
We also had
IUs is a tiefling. That's kind of makes him look cute.
Yeah. Yeah, we also had a Dumadan, which was a dwarven fortress that was invaded by Darrow. That was year 3-4-ish.
Oh, cool.
campaign arc. So the Darrow were kind of big bads for that one arc. But I don't think they ever reached. I think the big bads for that everyone remembers the most is House Terranor and their demon children. That's sort of the public enemy number one of first year, and I think later on they were disbanded as a house, but they came back as the Green Bar Terranor.
I never. I
right.
remember hearing about that, but I
That's
could
the
never
what?
figure out what the hell you guys were
Green
doing.
what?
Green Bar Terranor.
Yeah, as in a green bar over the part of the heraldry. I think.
Oh.
For a bastard line of the house.
Okay.
So
Okay,
this
so-
house though wasn't in Living Greyhawk Gazetteer. It was something y'all just pulled
I
out.
think the name was there. I
Oh
think,
yeah.
if I'm
How
not
do you
mistaken.
spell it?
Teranor. I don't think it's in
Nor.
the Gazetteer.
Yeah, I don't see it.
No, I don't think it's in there.
Yeah, that's gonna turn up too many results.
I think, but it is. I think it is in the primer document that came out before any of the adventures.
Yes,
So-
Like a
it's in
regional
there.
primer?
I know it's in there. Yeah, the regional
Yeah,
primer.
the
It's in
regional
regional
primer.
Who did that?
Let's see. Ryan Hicks, Bob Ammon, and William Steer.
So
First
your
three
early
Triads.
Triad members.
The first Triad, yeah.
Okay, yeah, we had something similar for the BK where they were trying to tell the early judges and authors like this is what's going on. Okay,
Actually, now that I look at it, I don't
Yeah,
think
it's
the
also where
Terranor,
Rowan
the
is.
Terranors aren't there. There are a bunch of other house names, but not the Terranor. You got Argonar, Durnix, Kressel, Shri, and Tarnell. Which
Yeah, I think we only listed the ones you could be members of as PCs, because we weren't supposed to be allowed to be a Terranor. But
which is a good thing, because
That's
if you were
very
one,
yeah,
it would have sucked when they got all disbanded and everything. And you
Oh,
wouldn't know.
it would have been cool to have someone as a secret one, right? You could have had like
Yeah.
that would have been a neat.
Well,
kind of-
that's Brian Kelly I'm mentioning. He
Yeah, that's a
was,
Keelan thing. the secret
paladin
ones.
of House Terranor who eventually went bad.
Oh, really? There you go.
Yeah, so he was a PC playing a NPC role in the campaign.
that's right.
Good to hear. That's cool.
That's right.
That's
I
totally
forgot
Yeah.
about that. That's great. I remember. now.
Yeah.
nice.
Did you guys have any dragons or anything like that?
Yeah.
No dragons.
No.
Nice.
Not, you didn't even say like, well, we're heavily. Well, I assume
Because
there's a
of the fact
metropolis,
that
right?
because Urnst is so populated that
Yeah.
No Greyhawk dragons, huh?
Yeah,
No
it's
steel
one of the
dragons.
most civilized countries in the whole
the
world.
most
Yeah.
civilized by far.
Uh-oh.
How did you get about making it evil and intrigueful of
It was
humanoids,
just
whatever? Must have been hard.
human frailty is really what it was thrived off.
so
It's just the fact that
corruption.
people are
and,
crappy. Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah, well, you have, Soltaran, where the city is literally on two levels, and the upper city is
Yeah.
luxurious, and the lower city, your life isn't worth a handful of copper.
Okay. So
Yeah.
mhm.
I have to ask. So Cap Napathy just said, "Didn't need dragons. We had Vale halflings." Okay, explain that to me. If it's anything like a Kender, I'm going to just go postal. What?
No, they rode around. I remember they had their own cavalry unit.
Yes.
What were they riding?
Dogs, I think.
Dogs,
Okay.
dog soldiers.
That's fine.
Yeah. But yeah, they had their own place. So they had the Shire. They had the Vale. That was their own territory, and
It was
it
called the
basically
Shire?
treated like
Oh,
a count.
Vale,
No, it was
okay.
called the Vale.
Oh, the Vale. Okay. Is it
Um,
on the
I
map?
don't know if
Is it on the map?
I think so.
All right, here. Now, this isn't a blow up of the area. Let's take a look. All right.
Yeah, it's on the map.
Ooh.
Mhm.
Yeah, that little
It's on
bit,
the map.
the little up in the.
Oh, I
up
see
in the-
it. Oh,
on the
wow.
claw up
Okay.
there.
Where?
I see
the
that
Vale.
upper
Vale.
up north.
Northern,
Vale.
And you can see that the forest was very much a nation unto itself.
Salt
because
Harbor.
of our borders.
Okay.
Salt Harbor.
It's on there.
Yeah, I don't know if every region had this, but we had explicitly, here is a place where gnomes live, here is a place where elves live, here's dwarves, here's halflings. Like we actually had canon home regions for all of those sort of races. It was
Yeah,
kinda neat.
every race
And the
except for
half-orcs
half
were different.
orcs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's
The
interesting.
half orcs, first of all, they were more like 3/4 orcs. They're descendants of the soul humanoid armies,
Ah,
and
okay.
occasional humans inbred into the population. So
We can go back to that if we need to
this is
anytime.
a country where the half-orcs were respected members of society.
Yes, I remember that. That's what we decided. I remember that was one of the things we did.
So half-orcs were respected members, kind of like they are slightly in Hardby. You had half-orcs merge into the society. That makes okay, cool.
It's actually written in the primer, I think, as well.
Okay.
That, or maybe it was just one of the early adventures, but I was reading it recently, where the half-orcs, as long as they were half Soul, were better respected than a whole.
Yeah, I
flan.
mean, none of that flan nonsense, you know.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So looking at the Gazetteer, half-orcs should have been about 1% of the Duchy population, so pretty small.
It's still a
factor.
lot. It's a lot. There was got to be how many 100,000s are in
751,000 according to LGG, but that'll get me started on my rant that the LGG has the population figures completely inflated 3 to 5 times from earlier canon sources. But
Yeah,
that's,
but I like the
are they
I like
fighting
the LGG
adults?
figures much
You
better
know,
than the
does it
earlier
include
sources.
women and children and grandpa? You know, that's a whole nother discussion.
Yeah.
So, Denise, you got an early memory that like just sticks out? Something like an adventure or a convention or some kind of event that happened. You're like, oh my gosh, that was awesome, or it was awful. It was something bad happened.
I mean, I remember one of the early Night Where Nothing Happens that ran at New Year's Eve of Loser Fun, like maybe 3 or something like that, where Shay Rockman used to run all New Year's Eve of Loser Fun. And so we used to do at that convention actual like real scavenger hunts. So we would bring in props and we would plant them around the room, and people could bring whatever they wanted to in their luggage, and they could go up to their rooms and find their like, you know, pink polka dot, you know, boot and bring it back down, and if that would qualify for one of the scavenger hunts. And then later on, when I was a member of the Triad, I played a fortune teller at one of the Night Where Nothing Happens. And since I knew all of the adventure secrets for that adventure, I would give I'd do tarot card readings for characters, and I would give them a hint, very like well obscured,
cool,
onto one of the future things that they might encounter in that in the interactive or in one of the later modules. So Night Where Nothing Happens was just such a fun event for me, and I'm glad that John brought it up earlier.
Now, did you say New Year's Eve this would happen? I heard did I hear that? So you had a con going on New Year's Eve.
Yeah, we had. Yeah, there was
5 days.
5
Wow.
days.
Oh, see?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, that was
That's dedication. Yeah.
that was Martin and Shay and who else?
It was the Tacoma
Roy
Gaming Group.
was
Roy.
involved with
Roy.
that.
That's right. Roy.
Cornelius and
Yeah.
Whoever the leisure suit is in chat said some shit Shay ran.
We used to. The Triad we were pretty active in running things at the conventions, and Shay would always run something, and it would be like, was that in the module? Invariably, it was not. It would just go off into the right.
It was fun.
It was fun. It was always fun.
Okay. Excellent.
So you said fortune teller. Were you the stereotype, which I would guess is a Renee fortune teller or something else?
Renee.
So
yeah, I was Renee fortune teller. So then, I ran into different characters, didn't want to talk to me and hated me.
So let me ask you about that, because in the Bandit Kingdoms, Renee was just another person who could be chaotic neutral, but the entire Bandit Kingdoms was chaotic neutral, so no one gave a shit, right? In the LGG, it says enemies. I use, okay, that makes sense. Brightlands, yeah, sure. Renee. What the hell did the Renee do to the Duchy of Urnst?
Wrong
Hey,
thing.
So the Duchy of Urnst is a merchant kingdom,
Okay.
and the Renee aren't terribly respectful of other people's property.
They trade outside the charters.
Yeah.
Without getting into the stereotyping discussions, right? Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah.
That was
I mean,
actually a
pretty
fine
much it.
line that we had to walk as well. I mean, we had basically, I mean, without sugarcoating. It was like a racist country.
Yeah.
And we had to try and play that as finally as we could to not make it gross. I think
Oh
we did
yeah,
a fairly
yeah,
good job.
because the
It was
Sul
pretty
were
much never
assholes. Yeah.
presented as good. It was presented as, despite being a nominally good nation, this is the thing that is really off the Duchy of Urnst.
Yeah.
And that's why every race had their home, is because they couldn't actually be in society. They were off in their own little part of the duchy that they'd been confined to, right? And then the rest of the duchy was for the Sul and
The gnomes for some reason.
And gnomes, yeah.
and gnomes.
Not threatening, maybe.
They were
Gnomes are
they were involved in the gem trade. The Sul weren't willing
Yeah,
to
yeah,
actually
that's right.
make the gems themselves, so they had to have gnomes to make the jewelry.
So that what I'm hearing is someone who's not super familiar is the DOU was kind of like the perfect Sul fatherland. You know, if we equate
Yes.
the Sul to the Nazis in some
Well,
ways.
And one key thing there is that it never went in that direction.
It didn't go hardcore evil.
Trade is
No.
wrong, and there was never.
Right.
But-
We never
Yeah.
did anything other than point out that they were douchebags. Yes.
Because your religions are Saint Cuthbert, Palor, and Lydia. Palor and Lydia are great, super good gods. So you clearly couldn't go in a dark direction with this. You had to portray assholes.
Well,
who
you
were
have to
good
remember
aligned,
a
it
lot
sounds
of
like.
Casey. A lot of people didn't read that
Yeah,
in
we-
LGG. I mean, you played whatever you wanted to play. A lot.
Well, that's fair. That's fair. There was
Yeah,
no
yeah.
restriction.
I mean, yeah.
So-
I mean, the number of people at the time who even had anything that was in front of them that said, "This is the place we're from," was pretty limited, at least early on.
Right, because it took a while to get the meta campaign material out to the players' hands, and not every player had to read that, right? Someone could
No.
create a character and just say, here's my paladin of Kellenin, who is the son of some, noble, and until he ran into a Triad member or a judge who said, like, that's ridiculous, but here's why. But we want you to play, so let's work on a concept that fits the setting. People could come up with things that grognards would say, no, hell no.
Oh yeah, especially those people who were really infatuated with canon. So
Yeah.
I
There's one
don't.
thing.
Is there anybody here that is like that really takes that to heart?
Mike, this is your chance to pop up, isn't it?
Yeah.
I know. I looked at
I'm not
those.
gonna
These
get in
gods
the
are
way.
big in the Duchy, and has like the hell they are. Yeah.
Well, Russ was your canon master, right? So
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and we used to.
Rendor, we Ross.
Yep.
So there was one thing also about the gods, since you brought it up. Notice Palor is not a Sul god.
Right.
Neither is Saint Cuthbert.
Correct.
it's a very
The
good
thing
point.
about gods in the duchy was that there was the Temple Revolution and the skeptics took over, so we didn't actually have a lot of gods.
Right.
So
The
that's
skeptic.
why.
Ah.
That's
Oh,
why
I totally
Lydia is
forgot
there.
about them. Wow.
Is that
Yeah,
canon
was,
or
uh,
is that Living Greyhawk?
That's canon. The coalition, the Temple Coalition revolt was when the temples of the Suloese gods revolted against Duke Karl's big brother, who was Duke at the time, who was a skeptic, and said, I don't think that religion should have such an impact on people's lives.
Ah.
So they taxed them 300%.
Yeah,
Um,
that's right.
And
But
the
this-
temple
Not
said,
about the million,
nope.
table.
And they revolted. And then they got expelled and basically decimated for the most part. It was the Sul gods who did that. And so that's why the non-Sul gods didn't get as badly affected. And we're basically starting the campaign around then. Duke Karl is still reasonably new at this point. He participated in the Greyhawk Wars, but basically right before that was his brother and this whole skeptic thing and the Temple
Yeah,
Revolt.
That's right. Totally spaced on that. That's
And-
It was the only time I ever had. I worked with Eric Mona was trying to get a skeptic thing going, but it was before the campaign had the mechanism to do meta orgs or anything, and so it kind of ended up not going anywhere because it was too soon.
That's great filler because I'm looking at the LGG and seeing this Paylor, Lydia, St. Cuthbert, and
Yeah.
Halfling Pantheon,
we
and
struggled with
wondering
the
where the
whole
hell
idea
are
that-
all the Soul gods. So thank you for
So
filling me in on
Gary
that.
just said Eric did it. Eric is the inventor of the skeptics, according to Gary.
Yeah, and I emailed with him a little about it again too soon, so it didn't end up working out. So didn't have a way to make it happen.
Yeah. Interesting thing about it though is also part of canon was that the Duke's uncle, whose name I keep forgetting, who was the previous Duke, he was fighting against, I think, Rary's forces in the desert, in the Bright Desert, got wounded, asked for a healing, and didn't get any.
That's right.
And that's why Duke Carl became the Duke, because his brother pissed off all the clerics who could have healed him and kept him on the throne.
Interesting story.
Okay.
Background.
Yeah. Mhm.
Oh, Eric.
And
Eric
Rush
was,
did a whole bunch of stuff with the Aberrals and Rary, and the Dervishes in year 1 and 2, right?
Did I? That doesn't sound like me.
Yeah, some
Yeah.
No, I don't remember it. I remember focusing on the college.
It's also
of
Jonathan,
Sages and
too.
Sorcery.
Yeah.
So did you guys adopt an NPC? One of the things we did in the BK, and I think I've heard other Triad members, like I kind of adopted Lesser Boneheart Kranzer. He became like the NPC that only showed up if I was involved in the adventure or the interactive, as well as the Dragon Morgenstaller. I took him over. Did you guys adopt the persona of an NPC, say either repeatedly or he was hands off, that person's mine, anything like that? And if so, who and why?
I don't remember doing that.
No?
I think
I
I don't
didn't.
think so.
within the noble houses, there were some people you met over and over again. I think in the early, there was a House Einstoffen, which was a merchant house. That I think the very first adventure, actually, of the first year was you work for House Einstoffen, and they're getting attacked by goblins or something. And you meet a guy there, and you'll meet him again, and you'll meet him again as you continue to work and get favor with House Einstoffen. And then there was later on, year 2, 3, I can't remember, there was a rivalry between House Meisel and House Sabo, which are two
That's
houses.
right.
And
I
they
remember
had their
writing
own-
that into the plot.
Yeah, and so there's guys who you deal with on either side of that, and they're kind of
Oh.
it goes all the way through, and even a Romeo and Juliet kind of houses are warring. There's a romance between two people in it and stuff like that. And so you get to know a bunch of the people in these houses. But they're not your friends. They're like people you'll see over and over again. In particular, those two houses, basically neither one was the good guy, and that was the interesting thing, because not everyone knew it. Sometimes you'd go into these adventures with these two rival houses and be like, "Oh, which one should we help?" Well, I don't know. One of them's got to be the bad guy, right? No,
they're all bad.
they're just a bunch of rich people, and you're poor. They're the bad. They're both the bad guy.
I was gonna say I'm okay with rich people being the bad guy, but that's just me. So in later years, the campaign allowed meta orgs, right? Can you guys tell us about some of the meta orgs for the Duchy of Urnst, so people out there who are doing a DOU campaign might have some ideas?
The most developed one was what Russ did with the College of Sages and Sorcery. That one was pretty intense. It was detailed, very well detailed.
I played a
the
ranger.
whole rank structure in it, and PCs could get up to fairly senior ranks in the organization, where they would be expected to burn some of their time units with duties at the college.
Which is out of where?
Got pretty fleshed out.
Stalwart Pines Ranger School.
Yes.
I was a
That
member.
sounds like a golf course.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
The
I
Duke
have
was
one
a
of the
ranger.
meta orgs, and it
Right.
was 42 pages long of meta orgs. That's
Right.
the secular organizations.
Hmm.
Wow.
And then we had the rogues, which was
Yeah.
also highly developed.
Rogues of Seltar.
Yep. And then
Ducal
the
Guard.
Diplomatic Corps.
Ducal
Right.
Guard.
And
I
the
remember
Ducal
that.
Guard.
I think
Oh,
Ducal
cool.
Guard was the first one that got up and running.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of the adventures actually say on the boilerplate at the front. This one is very suited to Ducal Guard members or people in the Ducal Diplomatic Corps. Those ones kept coming up in our adventures. Anything that was sort of military oriented.
Yeah, you would want to encourage the people like, hey, if you have this thing, you should play this adventure, so that the player didn't later get pissed off when they heard about it or something, and
Yeah.
just had to have maximize their fun with the time they were spending with you. For 5e audience members, the meta orgs kind of equate to backgrounds in some way. I think if we were to do Living Greyhawk in 5th edition, a lot of these meta orgs would just become backgrounds. You're a former member of the Ducal Guard, right? And that gives you these privileges. You're a former member of this church, et cetera, et cetera.
What I remember about meta orgs is that when the meta org revision came through the pipe, the people in the Dutch were kind of like, so I guess we've been outside these rules all this time with our highly developed meta orgs already. Let's go get them in line with that, because there were now you can give out this sort of thing with your meta org. It's like, well, we were already giving that out. So
oh, you were one of those regions.
Now.
Yeah, if you look at the whatever you call that year 0 document, the Duchy of Urnst, it mentions some of the things, and all of the things it mentions are meta org, became meta orgs. But they had the requirements in there already. The traditional knighthood, the diplomatic corps, you had to have certain ranks and stuff to get into them. They had no benefit other than they might come up in an adventure and people would say, oh, hey, you're in the ducal diplomatic corps.
Oh, cool.
I'll talk to you and say these extra things. There'll be one extra paragraph in the adventure for it or something like that, or an extra adventure hook. And that was considered cool enough. You didn't have to like that. I had my character join the ranger school, didn't think I was going to get anything out of it, and eventually in year 5 or something there was actually a benefit to being in the ranger school, but it was pretty cool anyway.
I think a lot of us who play Dungeons and Dragons, whether it's Greyhawk or anywhere else, we want our PCs to belong to something larger than themselves to help give them a purpose and a meaning for existence. And the meta orgs really do that. So even if you don't get the rewards, like my elf was a member of the Fan Shan Sylvan Elves. That's a canon thing from Living Greyhawk Gazetteer or something that I was just like, cool, she has a friggin' family. So if it comes up in conversation, I can say I've got cousin Bob the elf nearby. So it sounds really neat that you guys ran with that even before there were official rules.
Gary just linked Russ Taylor's old Greyhawk Adventures Webring website, courtesy of your archive, in chat. So, I was like, whoa, that's cool. I mean, that's in the days now. There's only Malden left in that Webring. You know what I mean? There used to be like, I remember using it in the early 2000s, and there were a ton of them.
I do still have all the files somewhere on one of my
skills and powers customization.
Yeah, weapon specialization.
I was very into the Greyhawk gods.
Yeah, it's very cool.
I think a key Greyhawk god in our region was a very hidden one in a lot of the adventures. Cyril.
Len would have loved you for that.
Cyril was there behind the scenes in a lot of adventures, so behind the scenes that most of the time the players would never know it. A lot of times as someone who usually played in the slot zeros, I'd play these games so I could run them at my cons, and then I go, oh, Cyril, because you just didn't know. And I that's one of the things I really liked. I liked that it wasn't all obvious and it wasn't all cards on the table. Because I think partly that's from when I first got the Greyhawk box set and read that Greyhawk is all about wheels within wheels. When we started playing in the Duchy of Urnst, it rang true when we started doing things like that. There were things going on behind the scenes that you didn't find out, and there was somebody behind somebody else, and that was really cool. Definitely, there was one adventure I think that had. There was a guy who he was a bad guy, and he had a trigger spell cast on a toe ring, and when he died, it cast an illusion or changed self or something like that, so that he looked like somebody else to put suspicion. So he's basically like, if I ever die, I want to screw up the people who think they know who I am and put the blame on somebody else. and that kind of stuff was going on. And that was all sort of related, I think, to the Cyril cultists who were infiltrating all the other churches.
I had forgotten that there was kind of a master backplot there of people trying to bring back the Soul Matriarchy to be in charge of the country instead of the more Iridian style patriarchy.
I imagine that if we had been allowed, we would have been using the Scarlet Brotherhood more, but it was kind of a hands-off thing.
Oh, thank God.
But in a Soul nation, you got to think that they're going to be behind the scenes. And later on, I think there was more permission. You see them show up a little bit behind the scenes in the later adventures, but earlier on they weren't. But Cyril and the matriarchy, Soul Matriarchy, that was go for it. Yeah, and it was there. I don't know how it ever came to fruition. It all sounded like it was all simmering behind the scenes, but it was there.
I wrote it into the plot documents.
Cool. Yeah, perhaps something that didn't ever play out, but it was cool for those people who read the adventures.
Couple off the wall questions here. So I noticed on the map, because Gary had mentioned this earlier, is the Doom Grinder in the Duchy of Urnst? And according to the map, it looks like it is, even though it's in the edge of the Cairn Hills. Did you do anything with that?
Oh, for God's sake, no.
Okay, just wanted to know, because
was there ever a more disappointing reveal than that the Doom Grinder was a giant?
Well, I corrected that in during Virtual Greyhawk Con for you, so there you go. There's no underground Darrow propeller wheeled submarine there, so it's not there. Yes,
there was something that was epically huge that the players stopped from destroying the world in one of the adventures.
Okay, what was that?
I think it was a year 5 or 4. I can't remember the adventure, but basically it was part of that undead plot that Mike was talking about. We were dealing with the Urfland, and this was on the borders of the Bright Desert. So there were a bunch of Flan dervishes that people had been dealing with again since the beginning, since the first year. You had to save some centaurs from Rary's minions, and there were these Flan dervishes, and continuing on, you eventually find out that these Flan dervishes, some of them at least, have been corrupted by this Flan priestess or sorceress or something like that. And then somewhere in there was this some kind of artifact that basically would keep turning people into undead. It would just basically suck souls and turn people into undead. And someone had to turn it off, or it would just keep going and do it, to the whole world, the whole Earth.
That's like social media.
Yeah, oh, right.
Isn't that happening now?
Isn't that the exact plot of the 5e adventure, Tomb of Annihilation?
It does sound like it.
That might be, yeah.
It also sounds like the plot for 2020.
Yes. But yeah, so everyone outside of the Duchy of Urnst, you're welcome.
Nice.
We saved
Very
your asses.
cool.
Yeah.
So, anyone have an estimate of how many? I know with the split off, it probably lessened, but what was your number of participants? Wow. In the Duchy, zone, thousands, 2,000,
hundreds, hundreds for sure.
Okay.
Well, you guys didn't have too many major population centers, right? Just Seattle and Northern California.
No,
That's the pale.
The four most active places would have been Seattle, or 5, Portland. I guess, Portland, Vancouver, Calgary.
And
that would be the 4.
Okay.
And Victoria, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, how big would your biggest interactives get to?
100, maybe.
Yeah, about 100 people. Yeah.
Still good numbers.
Yeah, I mean, it's a ton, because you also have to include your slot zeroing for your judges.
Yeah.
And what's that? That's like 12 to 15 tables simultaneously.
Yeah, they're usually full tables.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, we there were some conventions where we first started out, we didn't have much of anything, and then we came to dominate the gaming areas of those conventions. I mean, we certainly Dragonflight and VCon and a bunch of conventions. We just dominated
Pretty
the
major at
gameplay.
GameStorm. at
Oh
Texas
yeah,
Fair,
yeah,
the
GameStorm.
board game convention. We were a huge presence.
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
When we had SRM, Greg Marks, and others on who are in the current industry, one thing they've talked about is that Living Greyhawk created so much con traffic because it encouraged people to travel.
Yes.
Because you could only play DOU adventures in the Pacific Northwest, right? You could only play Xife in Canada, the western part of Canada, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, you can only play BK in Texas and Oklahoma. So people traveled back then to play D&D. I don't really think that's
Yeah,
going
we
on
had
these
folks
days.
that came up from California all the time to play in our stuff. It was pretty
And,
wild.
Well, the fun part was you could do it the opposite.
What was that,
The fun
Russ?
thing is you could do it opposite too. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Russ. Sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah, talking about traveling, the Duchy Birds literally saved Nyron because we sent a traveling team to their big plot arc interactive where they were going to defeat their usurper king, and there were 2 high-level tables, and the other one got TPK'd, and the Urnst one was victorious.
Have we had Nyron on yet? No.
Technically, they weren't TPK'd. The fighter lived, and he stuck a portable hole in a bag of holding, or vice versa, to shift everyone's body to to the astral plane. And the fighter, mind you, this was not a great plan. This is pretty like Plan X at that point in terms of
very
proper
cool
planning. So
Yeah, Nyron.
My wizard and Peril's cleric saved their asses.
Nyron, we did. We had Craig, John, and
That's
Renee.
it.
Yeah.
We did
On as well.
Okay. Mike, what were you saying? You were saying
just
something.
the fun part of the travel bit was you didn't even just have to travel to play. You could play when you traveled anyway.
Yes.
So I know I played games in Quebec and in Tennessee, and I don't even remember where all else, just because I happened to be there for other reasons. But in Las Vegas once, like just go to Vegas for a week, spend one night gaming with nerds in the Bureau of Land Management was where we were.
Wow.
We created the BorderCon.
Yeah, we talked about that earlier. I think you missed some of that, Russ, when we were talking about that. Yeah. Yeah, and the fact that it was coincided with 9/11, so that was
that was awkward.
Yeah, that was awkward.
Yeah, I missed the first one, but I went to some other ones later.
So
we had 4 or 5 of them at least.
The border was ridiculous that year.
You can imagine.
This year.
What? Bloodwild Steve asks, Northern California was that pale?
Yes.
Okay, Northern California was pale. Okay, and so was it Nevada? Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay.
And I think Utah as well. I played in Salt Lake City, but I don't remember what region they were.
Okay.
Utah.
No, Utah was county, right? Wasn't it?
Utah. Let me find it here. I've got it's on the back.
I've got the list.
Here.
Let's see if I can be. Colorado, Montana, New Mexico, and Wyoming was the county. So where is Utah?
I thought it was Nyron because I thought we went to Salt Lake City.
It is Nyron. Southern California.
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
And Utah and Arizona was
that table you were talking about, Russ. I was at it with you, you and me and Farrell.
Right.
Yeah.
In Salt Lake City, I remember.
So one of the things we talked about with other tribe members was how many hours a week did you put into this volunteer unpaid position?
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Chris,
I did more before I was on the Triad doing events.
What killed me with it was the editing. I remember
editing. I was just going to say editing adventures and just the
grammar,
even the pre-editing.
Grammar.
God.
Yeah. Well, authors not following templates, right? Some regions would just immediately boot the author, but
nearly every word sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Or just like, I don't think that concept's going to work. You should probably come up with something else.
Yeah.
No, this is my concept. No. That's a bad.
Probably like a half-time job for me.
20 hours.
Yeah, I would say 20 hours a week.
But again, most of that was just getting the adventures out. The adventures felt like a death march to me.
They were. Yeah.
Right. I mean, 8 a year. Plus, I mean, you guys are probably doing at least 4 to 8 interactives a year, plus intro first level only. plus special missions if you guys did any. Plus we did meta org special adventures for conventions, things
And
like that. I mean,
adaptables in the first year.
oh yeah, converting the adaptables if you did that. And then if you got tied into the meta regional plot stuff, we would, I wrote a meta regional to tie in the BK, and I assume that you guys did similar.
Yeah.
Just so it sounds pretty similar. All of us were unpaid RPGA slave labor, and looking back on it now, that's why they're never going to regionalize a campaign ever again. It was just too decentralized to control. Like, I bet if you showed me some of your adventure records, I would scream my head off. They gave access to a what? And if you saw some of mine, you'd be like, he wanted to allow that?
I will not miss getting the cert for the adventure the day before the premiere.
Oh my
Every
god.
time.
Yeah. And that's because the circle members were overwhelmed. They told us they were getting paid $2,000 a quarter, to do that job. Just ludicrous the way the RPGA and Wizards of the Coast made out like bandits off of our efforts, for them.
Well, on the plus side, it did train a lot of people who later went on to write other stuff. So that's
yeah. Sean Merwin just got a full-time job, doing RPG stuff. He just posted on Facebook. Greg Marks works at Wizards of the Coast. Chris Tulloch works at Wizards of the Coast. Obviously, Bullman with Pathfinder.
Chris Lindsay and
right, Mike Merles.
Yeah.
Right, he was
I
Keelan.
didn't know Mike Merles was in Greyhawk.
Yeah, Mike Merles was a Keelan Triad member.
Yeah, they did some good stuff.
I don't
Sean
want this to
Merwin
sound
was-
like an infomercial, but
It's okay.
technical documents that I write right now, like 15 years later, the editing process is so similar to getting the technical parts of adventures to line up with the formats and things. Like a lot of that stuff just carried straight over.
At least you're getting
That's
paid
hilarious.
now.
it
Though.
doesn't. It never changes, Mike. It never changes.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I went on to go do like a master's in publishing because it was a dumb financial decision, but it allowed me to. Jay's got it ready. Gave me time to finish my book. Where you at, Mike? You're slacking. $5 for Jay, none for Mike.
Once I schooled Eric Mona on the official 3rd edition format. He corrected something I did with he italicized scroll of, and I said no, potion of is italicized, but scroll of is plain text.
Oh, I'm gonna fight you on that.
He looked at me like, bullshit. Wait, you're right.
Yeah, Russ did a bunch of freelancing for those in the audience. If you missed it with Pathfinder,
Yeah.
a ton of credits, ton of. Did you say you've pretty much dialed that back, Russ? You're not really doing that anymore.
Yeah, my last thing was maybe a year ago. With my kids being teenagers now, I'm just pretty much busy with parenting and day job.
Wait. It took until your kids were teenagers for you to get busy with parenting?
Well,
I don't have any kids, so I'm just laughing at that.
Yeah, same here. I thought you kind of eased off. The older they got, the less attention they needed. So, yeah.
No,
I
they
guess we
need
have
more as
backwards.
teenagers.
yeah.
Maybe.
Oh, you got that coming up, Jay, for you then.
I'm young still.
Yeah, I was kidless back when I did the Triad thing.
So, out of all of you here, when, guys, I got to ask this now. When was enough? Right? You got to a point. It sounds like you guys were having a great time, but you're just like, this is just conflicting with what my real life. It's just too much time. And did you stay involved after that? Did you do anything else, in the industry, or play something else? Play D&D just in the home game? Who wants to take the? We'll start with Chris.
Well, let me suggest they do this chronologically.
Okay, let's do it chronologically. That sounds good. So who goes first?
Chris?
Casey?
That's probably me.
Go for it, Chris.
Well, so after living Greyhawk, I had enough when the RUPS came out, and I was like, I felt like as a Triad member, we no longer carried any weight with the circle. So I was like, I very unfairly ditched Russ, and much to my regret that I left him with holding the bag. But after that, I went on to do. Let me see. I wrote for Living Arcanus and did some of their plot coordination. I did plot coordination for Legend of Erd with the Troll Lord folks. I did.
Oh, Chuck. Well, we had Troll Lord on. Troll Lord sponsors this channel, so there you
Yeah,
go.
I saw that. Yeah,
Yep,
so
absolutely.
I was involved early with their stuff in Legends of Erd. So
Okay.
I did. I wrote some Living in Kingdoms of Calamar stuff. Played a lot of that. Did my own home group with a shared campaign between Seattle and Victoria called Portals of Midrith. Then went on to do the Pathfinder. I was a what do you call them?
Venture captain.
Venture captain for Seattle. Seattle
wow.
Venture captain. And trying to think if there's any other ones I did.
Did you do any
So-
Adventurers League or Living Forgotten Realms?
No.
Admin.
No.
So
No,
what,
no. I managed to after I stopped when I got to Pathfinder. I stopped playing D20 after that. It got to be.
So that's an unusual tale, Chris, in that a lot of the people we've talked to, we got burned out from working as Triad members, Circle members, and like some people went on to LFR, obviously Conrad and other people, Greg Marks, but a whole bunch of us just stepped back. Like I played Pathfinder Society, but I had no interest in being a venture captain. And you probably, I want to hear about this, but my thought on venture captains was you're a cheerleader. And I like Pathfinder Society, but you're not writing the adventures. You're not coordinating the plots. You're just a local point of contact to help organize games, which is fun and great.
Yeah.
But after Triad, that's just not what I had any interest in doing.
They actually asked me to step in. Paizo did because because they're in Seattle, and so they needed somebody who knew all the local gamers. And at the time,
Wow.
I knew everybody. So yeah, and we got to do some interactive stuff, write some interactives. So that was fun. But you're
you
right.
did?
There was, yeah. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Well, then I must have misunderstood. That's awesome.
I don't know that every venture captain got to do.
Yeah, I mean, I've got.
I could walk down. I could go down to Redmond and talk to them. So I had
They
pretty
have-
good access.
The venture captains and lieutenants, especially, both of them have gotten more involved with the campaign as it's gone on.
Oh,
So
okay.
they feel pretty invested in what happens in the campaign at this point.
Oh, okay.
It's
Russ,
a
your
very
next-
different structure than Living Greyhawk, though.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So after almost getting myself cashiered by leaking some of the details of the RUPs in advance,
So tell the audience what the RUPs are, because you guys keep referencing them.
RUP 1, 2, and 3 regional updates were some documents Stephen Radney McFarlane put out at the end of year 1, I think, going into year 2, that basically did away with the cert system and replaced it with adventure records. And it was controversial. There was not a lot of player involvement in it, so I went a little bit rogue as a Triad member and leaked some of the details to the public without trying to hide that I'd done it. So at Winter Fantasy that year, I was supposed to meet with the Circle and get fired, but I literally got told we don't care anymore. So that's how I avoided getting fired in Winter Fantasy of 2002.
Get fired.
Yeah, from the Triad.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, for breaking my NDA, which I did do, to be fair.
Oh, full
Yeah.
disclosure, I never signed and returned my NDA to Chris Tulloch.
Uh,
So Wizards can never come after me for anything I say.
Because I wrote an adventure, I had to. I remember that much.
No, I mean, he sent it to me. I just never signed it, never sent it back.
Because I wrote a core adventure.
Well, they were probably, because they had to pay you
Yeah.
for cores, so they
Yeah.
would have kept track of something like that.
Yep. So yeah, they redid the whole campaign, and it was very controversial to throw out everyone's inventory and make them rebuy all their items. And I'd like to think that leaking some of those details improved the final result, but I'm probably fooling myself. So in hindsight, getting rid of certs turned out to be an incredibly good idea, even though I was very much against it.
Oh
But
yeah,
have
I
to
mean,
say it took 2 or 3 more revisions. It was after the second great character reset with maybe 3.5e that felt like the thing settled down.
Right. Because really, after year 3, there weren't any major disruptions other than retirement moved from 18th level
Yeah.
to 16th level, and John has told me that some of the people reached 20th level in the
Yeah.
Duchy of Urnst,
I know Warren Banks did. He's a
which
good
I
friend of
find
mine.
mathematically almost impossible to
I
believe.
think
But you're
Chuck's
telling me it
Chuck's
happened.
character didn't he?
Wow.
I don't
Yeah,
remember.
I'm pretty sure I retired at.
I think Matt Atwell's character might have as well. I
Could
can't
you get
remember all
up?
the people.
Was it
Yeah.
18 where they forced you to retire, or could you get all the way up to 20?
You could get up to 20 if you did it fast enough.
Yeah, because I went out at 20 on the last year you were able to. I timed it so my last adventure on New Year's Eve that year put me to level 20 with my last time units. I was such a nerd.
But yeah, that was the last probably big shakeup for the campaign.
But before the next person goes, Gary asked what the best adventures were, and multiple people have said Last Dance at Heron House and anything
Yeah.
Martin Knopf wrote. Is that what you said, John?
That's what I said, and yeah, Martin Knopf. I think we wanted to give him a tribute. He died within the last year.
Okay.
Has
He
it
died
been a
last
whole year
November.
yet?
Yeah,
It has
he
just
died.
barely been a
It's been
year.
it's been a whole year. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great guy. I think we were all friends with him. Everyone whose face you're looking at right now. Yeah, he also was one of the major contributors. He was a Triad for the very end of the campaign for at least 3 years, I think.
He's also listed on a Year 4 adventure as a Triad member. So.
Is he? So yeah,
Yeah.
so last half of the campaign, probably longer than anybody else, honestly. And he wrote a lot of adventures, and honestly, every one of the adventures that he wrote has a little bit of a special touch. Even from the boilerplate.
Martin was special touch.
Yes, he was definitely a special touch.
He had
He
a
was-
cynical eye, and even if you
Twisted
look
mind
at the
and a wonderful heart.
yeah. If
Yeah,
you look
he
at
was-
the very first thing, like the blurb for every adventure that he wrote has something about you not surviving or something like that in it. You know, it's really funny, and his sense of humor, and there's usually a sense of horror as well in a lot of the stuff that he did, especially the one that he co-wrote with
Yeah.
Chris, which everyone's saying is great. It is great. Last Dance at Heron House. Casey, I know you've been running your favorite adventure, which was very horror based as well, set in an abandoned insane asylum, basically. Last Dance at Heron House was that, and it was a
Ooh.
first year adventure, and it's everyone remembers it more than any other adventure, I'm pretty sure.
A couple of things that were special about it, and Chris knows this too, is that when it came out, it was for characters level 4 and up, but there were no characters who were level 4 and up. So we
There
were
were
all
a
like,
couple.
the couple of us were on the bleeding edge, and we're level 3
Yeah.
when I played it,
And
and
it
we
was
just
brutal.
barely squeaked through.
Yeah, I actually my first 2 characters in Living Greyhawk died. So I was behind all my friends and struggling and playing the hell out of it, traveling out of region and to catch up so I could play Heron House.
I think that the most fun I had with that was that we had an adventure that ran before that where a character got captured by a Terranor, and so when so we took him out, his character out of play, and when that player and his group went to play Heron House in the playroom with the torture chamber, he was the one in the cage that you had to try and rescue. So.
Very cool.
And
Did
I
you
think-
coordinate that at all with the player? Or did you just tell him?
No,
like,
we
you can't play until this happens.
Yeah, we were very much, well, your character's out of play. You got captured. We'll let you know at some point what happened.
Let's see. We had a mechanic for that in the BK that was called whip scars. If you got captured by the Iusians, you lost a bunch of time units, and then you gained this whip scars cert to recognize that you had been captured by them and beat up by the Iusians. It sounds like this
Nice.
was in year one,
one,
right? So
yeah.
you didn't have that kind of thing maybe going on yet. So you just told the guy, "Hey, don't play this PC until we tell you."
Oh no,
you
I
can."
took his character sheet.
Well, I
Well,
mean, he
later-
could recreate that from memory,
Yeah.
right?
He later on made a
But it was
report
symbolic, and he
too.
understood.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Yeah,
One
in
of
fact,
the-
if you
Go
look
ahead.
at a lot of the first year adventures, there's actually a lot of ways where it says if you do this,
Right.
your character is removed from the campaign. If you do this, you're spending the next whole year in jail. Stuff like that. It was
Oh,
really
yeah.
hardcore back
Right.
then, and it definitely people.
We wanted to suck up everybody's time units.
Right.
Yeah.
And it required the judges to play along. Like we had an adventure, the BK, where you infiltrated an orc fortress, and basically you should get captured. There's very few ways of doing this adventure successfully because you have to go up to the top floor of a tower and then get the hell out of there. So the adventure just basically says you're captured, you get the whip scars. You have to trust the judge to deal with the administration, because the Triad members like us, we couldn't run every table.
Wow.
Just a side segue, but
Good.
One of my most treasured possessions, well, it's not a possession really, is I've got the same email address that I had back then. And I have a folder of all the emails between Martin and myself and David Thompson about the ErnstCon Interactive, the third one. And just reading all of the ideas that Martin had just made me, I was rereading them the other day and made me so happy.
That's awesome.
Just devious, mean.
Yeah.
Martin
up
more
with
than anyone else was
crazy
responsible
things.
for that feeling that good, but only on the surface for the Duchy. That it looked like a good, wholesome country until you dove in a little bit under the surface.
Into the weeds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool.
He loved
It
making
did-
ahead, Denise.
different monsters. And so I remember there was a construct that was all hands, I think, in one of the modules.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
that's a great idea. It's a creepy idea. Did Martin ever do anything after Living Greyhawk with any of the other campaigns? Did he do self-publishing for, any system or anything like that?
No, I know he actually, I moved around a lot, and I was living in Calgary after the campaign ended, and he actually moved to Calgary for a while.
That's right.
And he was judging for 4th edition Forgotten Realms, Living Forgotten Realms, and that was basically the only gaming he was doing right after the campaign ended.
Yeah, I don't think he ever got involved again with at any organized level.
He did love to run home campaigns, though. So
Yes.
he had
Yeah, I
several
mean,
of those.
yeah.
And
He and Shay were running stuff, and so there was a lot of that.
And he came up to our conventions in Vancouver almost every time we had one. So he was definitely willing to travel as well, to just play whatever and just hang out. There was a lot of beer.
Always helps.
What, in Vancouver? No.
Wherever Martin was.
Wherever Martin was, yeah.
I'm sorry for y'all's loss, but it
Yeah.
sounds like he was a hell of a friend and a
He
hell
was
of a
a hell of a
gamer.
guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that y'all were lucky to have known him. So,
Definitely.
cheers to
I
Martin.
feel like he was doing some fiction writing not long before he had his operation, and I was trying to find if I could track that down.
Anything you want to, if you find it and you want to link it, or you want someone else to link it into Twitch chat, we would be more than happy.
Yeah,
to
or
do
the
that.
Facebook groups or the Discord after
Yeah.
the show if you
No, we
find
have
it
no
later.
problem doing that. That would be.
Yeah.
Shay would know.
I would love to see the horror house adventure just so I can.
I think
Yeah,
I have a
that's dancing
copy of it
around.
Yeah,
somewhere.
for research purposes, since
Oh, yeah,
as I've beaten the drum, we're not technically allowed to share Living Greyhawk adventures
Yeah.
for copyright reasons.
Yeah.
But I think in that case, I mean, Chris is the author. Maybe not necessarily sharing it, but
Well, and you know what? Year one, he would have gotten paid for a regional
I
adventure,
did.
so he would have you would have
You
the
have the
rights for
rights.
it, Chris.
I do have the rights to it. Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's entirely up to you whether or not you want to share it.
someone did ask in chat if any of us were going to run a Duchy of Urnst adventure at
Gary
virtual.
Con. That was
Yeah,
Josh Pop, Zarathon, yeah.
I've been since last year's virtual Greyhawk Con. I ran a couple of our Zeef mods, and I'm running a couple more of them at this one.
Already in.
So I don't think I'm going to take that on. But if someone felt like digging up their 3rd edition books or doing a conversion to 5th or Pathfinder or whatever they like,
Yeah, I have a Pathfinder
that would be
version.
super cool, especially that particular adventure.
Yeah,
So
I have a Pathfinder version of my 3rd adventure, so I might be willing to do that.
That would be
Nice.
wonderful.
Player.
So you just get with me and Casey, and we'll figure it out. What we because you don't have to stream it. With all you need Zoom or Discord if you want to do Theater of the Mind, whatever. It doesn't matter because we got a lot of
DMs are needed. I'm going to talk about that at the very end of the stream. It's up now. You know, Luke Gygax has asked us to replicate what we did at Greyhawk Con inside Gary Con, and we're well on our way. But we could always use some really cool content. It would be wonderful. Just keep that community growing. So, who's next in this timeline here?
Well, I didn't actually get to
think
what burned me out.
Diverged.
Oh, it's
I retired because there were two good alternatives to replace me, and in which you remember which two good alternatives they were. I think John Thompson might have been one of them. So I stayed on for about a year as Triad Emeritus for continuity purposes after that.
Okay.
But that's how I left. Maybe it was Martin. That could very well have been Martin.
Makes sense.
Yeah, because Martin and Matt Lavelle was
Yeah.
Triad for a while as well.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Fairly early on.
Weirs.
Also
James
wrote a
Weirs
lot of
did
mods. Yeah.
Yeah, Triad stability was rare in Living Greyhawk. I think, one or two of the Joff guys was there a hell of a long time, but I think in the BK we had like 18. I counted it up at one point. It's just you could do a year and a half, you could do 2 years, and then you either finished college or you finished grad school or you had a kid or you got a new job or you just got burned out and had to move on.
And what wore me out of Living Greyhawk was actually too much content towards the end. Once I couldn't play everything, I lost interest in trying to play everything. So pretty much when I hit 20 with my primary character, I cut my playing about in half and then kind of dropped out entirely by year 8 and never got into living campaigns again.
Wow.
Did a little Pathfinder Society, but I don't know. It didn't capture the flame the way Living Greyhawk did.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I had fun playing some Pathfinder Society. I got a character up to like 12th level or whatever here in Boston.
That's my burnout story.
Yeah. Mike?
Oh yeah, so yeah, I guess I would be next. I was in university full time as a mature student by the time I left, engineering degree, and I just couldn't keep up, so I dropped out. But then by the time we in Calgary and Vancouver were bringing the Zeef project online, I was still in university but farther along, and there was a bit more free time, so I jumped back in again and was part of that initial Radic proposal that got turned down but not. And then I was part of the planning for the plot arcs and module assignments and stuff for Zeef for a year or so. And then school picked back up again, so I left again. But my stink is all over the Zeef plot lines. That was sort of where most of my direct input to the campaign was. I'd
forgotten
so
that
I was
you were
sort
part
of
of
in
the
and out.
Radic.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we should get the Australian guys on with you and John and who was it? Chris Slater, who was the other Radic proposal?
It was Corey.
Corey.
Sorry,
Corey was driving that. Really, it was sort of Corey that
I had nothing to
started
do with it,
really.
honestly.
I
we
should get
benefited
you
from
guys
it, and
on
that
with
was
the
it.
Australian guys because
Yeah.
we've had them on the show to talk about Perrin Land and Radic.
Yeah, I think it was Corey and myself and John Hilton O'Brien. John and I wrote we wrote a full adventure as part of it, and so John and I wrote that together.
Wow,
that was pretty cool.
But then I think you just said there, school picked back up again. And
yeah.
Real life.
I just didn't have the time. Yeah.
Real life.
You're actually notorious, Mike, for co-writing stuff. You co-wrote a lot of stuff with Mike Desatel. Is that?
Yeah. We did
Mike
4
Desatel.
Duchy adventures. We did sort of 2 pairs of modules, and I'm really proud of all of them. The first one, I don't know if you've seen Davy Crockett and the King of the River, but it was exactly that.
Yeah.
So it was that only in a D&D adventure, but it played out pretty well.
Weird places where you get your inspiration from. You never know.
Yeah. I remember editing that.
Mm-hmm.
We've all done it.
The Triads editing Triads could get brutal.
Your stuff came
I
in
wasn't
secret,
tried
a lot
yet
of
for
it.
that.
No, he
really?
was just one of our minions.
Yeah.
Yes.
So is it Denise next or John?
Denise.
John, because John went to.
John should be next.
Yeah, because John went to Zeef.
Yeah, I think Denise was Triad before I was, but I left before she did.
That's
so.
right, exactly. That's what I'm referring to.
So yeah, basically that's what happened. I came on in year 5, in time to do nothing for Duchy of Urnst, except for mostly organized con stuff. I might have written a mini mod for some interactive or other, or maybe done some stuff with what do you call them, special missions.
Mhm.
But I had no contribution to the plot arc. I had just learned it, and then the Z proposal, or the Radic proposal, turned into the Z proposal, and we got Zeef, and I was suddenly in a different region. But it basically automatically made me a Triad, and because I was the one Canadian Triad in the Duchy, so it was kind of, I didn't have to apply for the job.
So, Mike and John, remind me again, why did Zeef spin off? There was a geography issue, just too broad, too big. The Duchy was,
Yeah,
or
that was
And-
basically it.
And the population too. I mean, we had a large enough population easily to rival 2 of a lot of other regions that existed, and we were a lot bigger than them geographically. And it was honestly from Vancouver or Calgary to go to another region, it's a serious pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Whereas if you live in New England, you can walk to another region.
right? Massachusetts and Connecticut were Bissell or something like that, and
Yeah.
New Jersey and New York or Keeland, and
And
Yeah.
PA.
Yeah, I think the biggest factor probably was that they would never have offered, but we demonstrated that we were serious about it, and so they thought, why not? I think
Mhm.
at the end,
Yeah, I remember
ultimately,
the border argument was, I recall a big part of what swayed them was the unfairness
yeah.
of having no borders with
Yeah.
other regions.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. That was
And
the biggest deal for us.
And again, with LG created the desire for players to travel.
Yeah.
And travel means economic movement, maybe buying more books because you want to play a Centaur over here or whatever. But John, so you went all the way through the end of the campaign, right? With Zeif?
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
So you
You're-
didn't get fired or you didn't quit. The campaign quit you.
The campaign quit me just in time because I was really burned out by the end of it. Yeah, I definitely got the taste of what it was like for the rest of these guys. And I agree that the big thing that was the biggest drag was editing the adventures.
So
I think
much work.
it was a lot of work. I think one of the other things was my own procrastination. There was a lot of procrastination by the authors. There's procrastination by me. There's procrastination by the circle members getting us the ARs on the day of the convention.
Right.
And the interactives, we were often writing them in the minutes before, sometimes
yeah.
even that they were actually happening.
Yeah.
We were still writing them. We had the certs. We were like, okay,
And
well,
we
we
knew
don't
in
know
our
what we're gonna
head.
do, but give us this stuff to put on the cert, and we'll start writing it now.
Right.
So yeah, it was frenetic a lot of the time. I was also, con organizing 4 cons a year, and all the. I was sort of the POC, I guess, and that was very burnout. But I loved it. I definitely loved it, and I loved it so much I was traveling all over the place to play outside of my region. And it was much easier to do that as once we split Zeef off, because I live in Vancouver, and Vancouver to Seattle is really, really short distance. Sometimes they'd even have have stuff going on in like Blaine or Bellingham, which is just really close.
And remind me, did you go on to do Living Forgotten Realms or administering any other?
No,
No.
I never had any interest in administering that stuff, and I don't think that the opportunities weren't as easily to come by, I would say, for those ones, because there was no region, so you had to compete with the whole world for those jobs.
Yeah.
I didn't even try. I was done with it. But I played those games for sure. I kept playing through Living Forgotten Realms and Legacy of the Green Regent. I never did play any Pathfinder Society, much to my regret. Actually, I still, it's a good system. I like 3.5.
Yeah.
Pathfinder is very similar. So yeah, I definitely should have, but I found I play 3 or 4 times a week already. I I met a lot of people through playing Living Greyhawk and running the conventions, I kind of cherry picked people I liked out of the conventions for my home games, and got so many friends. I don't have time to play with all my gamer friends,
Right.
even now at playing 4 times a week.
You're up to 4, and that counts Sunday night, right?
Yeah, that counts Sunday night. That's my new one. And those are new friends. I didn't
Good.
know those people before, but all my other ones are mostly people that I know from my Greyhawk days, my living
Okay.
Greyhawk days. Almost all of
Kudos.
my gaming groups. Some of them are people I've known since I was 4, but most of them are people that I know from my living Greyhawk days.
Yes,
and
I'm
in fact,
still in touch
my
with
Friday night group
one
is
of them.
a continuation of the same group since
That's awesome.
2008 or whatever.
Wow.
It's good.
Nice 20-year friendships off of Living Greyhawk. That's something.
Yeah, I still game master. I still play with Chuck Walburn on
Nice.
Wednesday nights. So that's from.
That name sounds really familiar to me.
Well, he came from the BK. So
Okay, he was an early mod author.
he was an early, and then he came up here to Seattle when he started at Microsoft.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Warren Banks has been in my gaming group for a while. He recently hasn't been able to. But I was looking up the old mods, and I realized that when they first in year 3 they introduced the introductory mods where you could only play a first level character, and every region I was supposed to make 4 of them.
Mhm.
He made 3 of them for the Duchy. 3 of the 4 were him.
Nice.
Popping them out. We got him to write for Zeef as well when it came out, but I was like, wow! And those were his first adventures as well. That was kind of, oh, you want to write for us? Well, write an intro mod, and then we'll
Right.
see if you wanted.
We did the same thing in the BK.
Yeah,
In fact, that's I think how I got one of my starts.
it was also how I weeded out some people.
Well, they were great fun, right? But
Yeah.
they still had to be a proper adventure.
Yep.
Absolutely.
If you couldn't do a stat block, see you later.
And or just follow the damn template
hmm
for writing. And then Denise, how did you in the campaign, and what did you do after it?
So I was kind of similar to Russ. I got my character to 18th or whatever it was, and then maybe when it was 20th, I remember there was a frenzy at the end of that year of everyone playing all the games, and I sort of lost interest a little bit after that, and I switched to running home games. And so I mostly ran home games for the next few years, or played in them, and then I started running the WotC adventures that are the pre-made ones, like Rise of Tiamat and those sort of ones. So that's mostly what I've been doing, but I haven't done any administration, and I didn't really even play I played a little bit of Eberron, I think.
Is your home
So
game
5e.
home game still going?
We finished that one, and so we haven't started the new one yet. So,
Okay.
but I think Tiamat took us, I don't know, 4 years to play, because we're, I'm not a GM that sticks on exactly the module, and so some things I made up as well.
Excellent. Yeah, it's just a lot of people go their different direction, and to get to where we are right now in this Greyhawk community we have, it's just like 20 some years. Well, actually, 12 years after it ended, right? Living Greyhawk.
Mhm.
Some like myself and Mike and Anna never played in it. We zipped right through it, doing our own thing during that time, and a lot of people have the great experiences of playing in it, and I'm glad that
Only
you
played once.
once.
Oh, you played once?
Yeah, me and my friends went to Gen Con, and we all brought bards.
Nice.
So we got rallied as a group of bards, and one poor guy playing a wizard had to be put with us, and we were TPK'd.
As you should have been.
Surprise!
It's a
Remember
cool
visited
LG.
the Theocracy in the Pale, being at the table with 3 bards, none of whom were singing. I
Yeah.
was so angry.
But I want to say to all of you that if you want to feel that experience, and if you ever have time in your hugely busy schedule, I have converted a whole bunch of the Zeef mods for use in Roll20, and I can easily run you through 1, 2, or 5 of our scenarios.
That
Damn.
Don't you have enough
Oh.
things to do,
I
John?
was just going to
No,
say that's
never have
dangerous to
enough.
say that in
'Cause-
front of 100 people.
Right,
in-
I
That you
converted
know that
one
it's not
BK
just
one.
us. There are people on the.
yeah.
Well, listen, so John has also registered to run a table at ExtraCon. I've been tooting the horn of this, and we'll come back to it when we do the wrap up of the show, Jay. But
Okay.
so we've got more opportunities for people to sign up and play on John's virtual table.
And
That
that
will
is
be announced here later in the show.
and that is the one after the fundraiser, correct?
The week before or after?
It's after.
It's after because you're the third weekend.
Third weekend, yes. in
Right, so
February.
it's the weekend after.
Very cool. Hey, got to keep busy, right? You know, it's it definitely, is yeah. John has a 48-hour per day spell level. So yeah, about that, George. I mean, John seems to be very active, which is awesome. You know, and it's
Permanent haste spell.
you have to.
It
takes a
only
year
ages
off
you
your
a,
life,
a
though,
year
right?
every time. Yeah.
That's
thanks,
right. Well,
Chris.
you can
It's not
see.
roll every time. People always have to-
Wait, John. Are you saying you had hair back during Living Greyhawk, but
It
Living
was
Greyhawk
blue.
killed your hair?
Oh,
Yeah.
it was blue.
That's right. John
Nice.
had the colored hair. That's right.
Yep.
I see Denise nodding like she remembers that very well.
Who was
That's the only
lead
picture I
who
have
was
of John in my head.
Yeah, it's funny. I haven't seen you for so long that it's a bit different.
Hey, what's up, Katana? Good to see you on. So, why don't we do an in closing here and see what everyone's up to, what everything's going on, because that may take a while with 8 people. So we'll wrap it around, and let's start with Casey, because Casey's done a great job with
Yeah.
questions
thank
tonight.
you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I just wanted to thank everyone for coming on the show here, guys. I really appreciate it. It was great. Like, I know nothing about the DOU. My head is so into the BK. That's really all I ever do. Now I'm doing Ghosts of Saltmarsh, so I've had to learn some Keelan stuff. But hearing these stories was great. The administrivia, the trivia of administration, so much of it was similar for us, and some of it was different. So thank you guys for all coming on and sharing tonight. So for me, we're wrapping up 2020. Thank God. My wife and I are buying a house at the end of January, selling a condo. So I'm going to start being off the grid a little bit more, but we're looking for next year's shows to start doing a little bit more meta regional shows. We've kind of done this a little in the past, but I want to do meta regional super shows where I have a circle member, because now we've had a couple of circle members on the show come on, and one member of the Triad from each region that's in that meta region come on, so that we can talk about some of the larger plot points that existed in Living Greyhawk now that we've done these deep dives at the regional level. And then, as I've mentioned, there is a con I am supporting by judging at called ExtraCon 2021. And I will post the link directly to John's event in there. And it's basically a free online convention. It's a LARPing convention that is having tabletop games, virtual games, because they reached out to me and said, we'd like to do D&D, and I've helped spread the word, and they've had other LARPers who do D&D. Because obviously we can't LARP in March or February of 2021 due to COVID. That would just be a terrible idea. So I've linked John's table there, and registration's open. You can easily get on there. And I'm also running 2 tables of the Bandit Kingdoms tournament at the same convention. So click on that link, and that'll take you to the con, and you can find my table. Find me in Discord if you're having trouble. There's plenty of seats open. I think the LARPers are scared and don't want to have anything to do with my tournament adventure, quite frankly. And then
I don't blame them.
well, I mean, it was pretty. John was there. I think it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So
It was super fun. I recommend it to anyone.
oh, cool. Thank you.
Well,
But I mean, I got a prize.
yeah. Well, Gary Con, we have 3 more opportunities, a whole new tournament. So, but we need new people to fill it, because he just got approved, right? But
It did. So I'm going to run 3 more tables of the tournament, and this will be the tournament style. I will give points to each table. I will determine the winner. I will do the same prizes to match the virtual Greyhawk Con system. I thought that was a lot of fun. So the winning table, everyone will get a PDF copy of my book, and then they vote RPGA style for table MVP, and the winner of that will get a hard copy of the book. John, did you get the one you were voted the MVP? Am I getting that?
I did. I'm still waiting for it in the mail. but
What?
I got my virtual copy.
It hasn't shown up to you yet?
It has not.
All right,
Christopher all over again.
let me check that. I know I also sent one to SRM, so I knew that one was delayed.
Yeah, it's got to
John.
get across the border here, so
Stuff's taking some
Oh.
time. I sent some dice to Morph, and it's taken 3 weeks to get to Canada, and that's through Amazon.
Okay.
So,
Well, I'll look into that,
it's
John, and
crazy.
catch up with you on Discord. But so I'm going to run 3 tables at what's it called? Ethereal Gary Con, Virtual Gary Con.
It's called GaryCon 13 Ethereal.
Okay.
Technically,
Gary
but-
Con 13 Ethereal. I'm going to run a Friday night, a Saturday night, and a Sunday morning of this. It's 5 pre-generated 4th level Pathfinder compatible characters, and it's in roll 20. It's all ready to go, and then I will create next year a new Band of Kingdoms tournament for Virtual Greyhawk Con 2021 in October, based off of another favorite Band of Kingdoms adventure of mine. So that not a lot going on, just moving and a couple cons and whatnot.
Yeah, but we have our own sub convention within GaryCon, and I'll talk about that in the end. And thank you, Casey just submitted. John's got 2 adventures in, and Casey's got 3, all for the tournament. So we're getting there. We're getting there, just like we were for Greyhawk Con itself. So some awesome stuff to discuss. Anna, what's up? You're kind of quiet
Hey.
tonight.
Oh yeah, but I've just been listening and enjoying the discussion. It's fantastic, and I'm babbling too much all the other times. So this is good. This
Cool.
is wonderful that we got some new blood coming in here, spilling
Yeah.
wonderful stories. So thank you, everyone. So yeah, what's up? I'm actually now starting to run my own campaign set in Southern Shield lands. After 3 years of running campaign hiatus, I'm back in the DM saddle, and it's going to be fun. So we've had 2 kind of prep sessions. We've created characters and trying to introduce them to my version of Southern Shieldlands, and I put the first level because it's not only going to be me and the players. All the material that I'm doing for this will be available on my website and Patreon and all that, so to speak. And it's also a test run for my new generation of Greyhawk maps. So that is the setting, and it's starting to look really, really good. I will make some tweaks. I've done an area a few hundred miles in each direction, and that I'm working on, but now I know how to tweak them for doing the rest. And there's also new versions of the tools and stuff. So there will be a bunch of blog posts coming late December, early January, how I'm going about doing that, so to speak, with example files and stuff you can download. So for the ones who are map technically interested in what I'm doing, that will be explained, because I'm right now tweaking it, and I don't want to tell people I'm doing it this way, and then 1 month later say, no, that's not the way I'm doing it. I'm doing it the other way. So it needs to be battle tested first before I want to tell anyone that's the way I'm doing it. But it's 90% there, and the first result looks stunning. They look really, really good. So it's 5 feet per pixel resolution. So it's kind of, yeah. So I'm doing the village of Aldet. It's a small little village I invented. I did what Gary Gygax did with Hamlet like 45 years ago. So I invented a little village in Southern Shieldland and wrote up the story, the surrounding area, and all that. Tried to tie it into canon as much as possible. And the first article is on my Patreon that tells the history of that little village, and I even managed to tie in Vecna to it one little bit, because it tied in perfectly with the canon story and stuff about Shieldlands. And I never thought that. So when I started reading about Shieldlands and stuff, I was like, yeah, that's cool. We have Halmardar the elder, or whatever. He got the hand and the eye and stuff, and he ruled from a town that is only like 25 miles north. So I was like, oh, that means that my little village was one of his holdouts, so to speak. So that was one of the major history points, so to speak. And otherwise, it's a very dull place. That's the whole idea. It's a very dull place that sits between Critwall and Axport. And yeah, so you can read the kind of story. So one of the goals of this campaign is to show others who are interested in tweaking, making their own sandbox and make Greyhawk their own, that you can take an empty hex on the Darlene map that is just a green blob and nothing, and read some cool stuff. You don't have to read everything. You can just read some cool stuff and take ideas from there and then fill in the blanks. And then you create this stuff, so to speak. And then, of course, I need to make it map worthy too. So I'm mapping the village and I'm mapping the whole area and stuff like that. So it's coming out and it's a test bed for new maps. And then in early next year, like when I have my campaign up and running and I've mapped the area that we're going to play in the next months, I'm going to dig through all the Len stuff from Len Lakofka stuff from about Lendor Isles, and then I'm going to take, because then I hope by January I will have my new map method and workflow battle tested enough so I can dig into Lendor Isle and do it fairly quickly, so to speak, and not spend months figuring out or weeks figuring out how I'm going to do things. Instead, I'm going to figure out exactly what the island's going to look like, and I'm going to take all the city plans and the town maps and all that and put it in there, so to speak. So that will be a project. That will be the big project next spring. And I hope it will probably take the whole spring to do it, because it's still the first area that I will map properly, so to speak. So that will take 5 times longer than doing. Once I've done the second one, it'll probably take half the time, and the third one probably a third. So I expect it to take 4 months, but then it will be a kind of a test case of presenting Lendor Isles as its own little campaign setting, so to speak, at least when it comes to map wise. And I will try and seek as much, I will seek guidance and help from all you guys and people that know things about Lendor Isles. But now, thanks to, I'm sitting probably on the best library of Lendor Isles in the world. So now I can actually claim some authority here, because I actually talked to Len quite a bit about it, and I have a lot of the materials. So it's going to be interesting and fun. And we also have to make sure it works with the rest of the setting and stuff. So that's the big things that are coming. So yeah.
Awesome. Great to hear. Plus, Anna's going to be playing in our Saturday Night Special Saturday.
Yeah,
I'll discuss
there's a bunch of stuff like that too. So, but
Emery's going to be friggin' 12th level by the next time I get to play.
She's
her.
6'6", man. Ranger mage. They
I
don't go up
played
that
her
fast,
like,
man.
like almost 2 years, and she's leveled once.
See, because
Anna,
it's
I
old
think
school,
he's
1e,
chipping you-
2e.
No, I think he's cheating you out of XP
Oh,
because
I'm
you've
sure.
played like
he wants to have
5
Emery
times.
forever playing
Oh
it.
my
It's okay.
gosh.
Yeah. I mean, come on. She's gained like 1 level in 5
Yeah.
adventures.
She started at 4-4. She's 6'6" now. That's more than
Okay,
enough.
to 2 levels. Okay, 2 levels.
Guys
Yeah.
are rough.
Yep.
Guys are rough. You're like my players. Mike, what's going on? What do you got going on, Mike?
Not a whole lot. Just taking up space.
Oh, it's-
No.
I enjoyed listening to you guys talk about Duchy of Urnst. It amazes me, watching all these living Greyhawk streams, how much I learn about these places that I don't know, mainly because you guys had to create it for your campaigns. So it always makes me think, man, I wish I could have played a little bit in that Duchy of Urnst. Like the only Duchy of Urnst I ever done was the Mar Castle modules, for instance. So I never really got to enjoy the rest of the country. So that always amazes me. And then the other thing I always take from it, it's like I always start daydreaming, like, could I have lasted as a Triad person? Maybe, maybe not. I'm one of the people, like, once I start something, I don't quit it. At least it takes me a long time. Or I would just say no altogether. So,
Do you have a strong sense that you were the only person who can do a thing right? Because I think one of the
sometimes-
things we found out from other tribe members is that we all had a strong sense that like everyone else,
Was
couldn't
wrong.
do it right. Only we could do it right. I see Chris is laughing and Russ is laughing. Denise is laughing.
Yeah,
So
I-
we're all that
Quite
way.
possible.
Come on.
I
We're all
do
the
want
A-type
to
personality.
want to, but out of fear of what someone else would do, then my
Yes, that's exactly it. It's like
I mean,
Yeah,
Zara-
so
yeah,
Mike,
come
if you're
on.
like that, you absolutely could have been a Triad member,
Yeah.
and you would have thrown cartoons into it and rings of 5 questions.
Yeah, I would have brought something extra to it. So
It would have
I'm
been
glad-
awesome.
So maybe I'm glad I missed out on that. But no, so it was a good time.
Traded for me.
Otherwise, yeah, go to Greyhawk. I have some new Sea Princess maps if you haven't seen them already.
They look
They're
fantastic.
awesome.
That's,
They are absolutely awesome. I'm
Yeah,
going
I
to
post-
steal all
Scarlet
of them and
Brotherhood
put it in
free,
my
too.
campaign,
Yeah.
and then we'll see what we can steal
Yeah.
for the public map too.
yeah,
Yeah.
all,
And you
all the
went
places.
with Bay of Javon.
Yeah, I did.
Yes.
That is something that's going on the map next edition.
See
of the
that,
map,
and for
definitely.
the audience, that was just a random thing I brought up because I'm running Ghosts of Saltmarsh, and I was like,
Yeah.
"What the hell is the name of the
That's
bay
cool.
that Saltmarsh is sitting in?" And none of us on the Discords could come up with a canon answer, so we just said, "Hey, there's Mike. I think suggested it, right?
The Javan comes out there. It's
Yeah,
Bay
the
of Javan.
Javan River comes out there. Just friggin'
Yeah.
call it the Bay of Javon or
Yeah.
whatever it is."
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
But that's really all I've done the whole last week. I just like made some maps and then now I'm here. I don't know where the time went.
It works that way. You know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just boom, you know, and time flies by. Definitely. All right. So, Chris, what's going? You got anything you want to shout out or talk about?
Well, let me see. I still game on Wednesdays. We're running. We've been running playing some Delta Green, so that's been fun.
Ooh.
Playing Delta Green actually set in Seattle, so just a mini that has
Nice.
been interesting for those. And then I'm starting up playing in a new Star Wars thing. I don't know.
It's all right.
It's everybody's real enthusiastic about it. I'm not as big a Star Wars fan, so we'll see how that goes. And then just trying to survive 2020 and stay healthy. So
Well,
that's
thank
about
you.
it.
Thank you very much for coming on tonight. I really appreciate it. It was
Yeah.
awesome. Denise, what do you got going on?
Lately, I've been running a mouse guard game, which is a really fun, cute little RPG. Not a whole lot of crunch, but lots of fun running around and getting chased by snakes and solving puzzles like jumping over rivers and hoarding for the winter. So if you want a little game that has not a whole lot of crunch but is really fun, I'd recommend that. And also been doing Kids on Bikes, which is kind of similar,
I've heard of it.
a little
yeah.
bit player driven. So that's been fun.
I play tested the Kids on Brooms, Denise, the spin-off sequel to it a year or two ago. I'd never even heard of Kids on Bikes, but apparently it's surprisingly popular.
Yeah, it is.
My wife
Is
had
that,
heard about it.
Is that off of the Tales from the Loop stuff?
Same idea.
Same system, or just a different? Okay. All right, never mind.
Cool. Thank you. Mike, what's going on? Sound.
You're on mute, buddy.
I'm muted.
It's okay.
I'm not muted now.
No problem.
Not a lot. I'm working more than I should, being a dad. My home game is on hiatus right now because our DM is working in IT and healthcare, which is keeping him more
Oh,
busy
God.
than ever.
Right.
So we've been on hiatus for a while, and that's the only gaming that I'm doing right now. So
Thank you, though, for coming on tonight and sharing your experiences. Really appreciate it. John, what's going on, man? I know you got a lot going on.
Yep. So yeah, as I said, I'm playing four games a week. Sunday night, the one you're aware of, I'm playing in the live streamed Sora's Tale 5th edition D&D game run by Galger, who a lot of people know on various social media. I'll put a link for that in.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, it's every Sunday night, and I'm the one who doesn't feel like they're staying up late because I'm on the West Coast. But yeah, it's been pretty fun so far. I'm playing Vorag the Orc from the Sultanate of Zeef. I decided to make an Urzari character because I thought they could use some extra meat there. Then yeah, I've got a bunch of work to do because I've sort of promised to revamp 3 of our old Zeef Living Greyhawk mods for these upcoming conventions. I still have yet to do that, but fortunately, in some ways, I'm unemployed, so I have a lot more time than say my Cax dad does to do this kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm going to be for the one that I'm running at I forget the name of your con, the con Casey was telling us about, but
ExtraCon.
ExtraCon, yeah, the one I'm
Yeah.
running there is a one-off. It was actually, I think, the 3rd adventure of the first year of Zeef, which was year 6 of the campaign as a whole. And then at GaryCon, I'm going to continue running the same series that I was running, that I ran at last year's virtual Greyhawk Con, which is our inaugural series that was dreamed up by me and Mike and Corey, the Eternally Yours arc, which had to do with some mermaid stuff, and there's a lot of underwater stuff off the coast of Zeef. I've run the first 2 of those at 3 different conventions actually last year. Virtual conventions. I recommend virtual conventions to everybody who's not getting enough gaming. It definitely got me stoked and got me really used to the tools. So I'm running parts 3 and 4 of that same arc at GaryCon, and I'm very excited about those because I think the writers, Ian Seal and Jake Robbins, were fantastic writers, and they collaborated very well on those. So yeah, excited for those. And yeah, like I said, I want to show this stuff off. I'm what do you call it? The ambassador of Zeef to the world. And so yeah, if you or anyone you know can get together 4 to 6 players who want to play and can all get together on the same time online, I probably can fill in a 5th night a week to play some more games.
My gosh, man.
Wow.
Crazy.
And
John, forgive me for asking, but do you have a partner there, a significant other?
I do.
And they're
she-
okay with this.
She's
Yeah.
She's a gamer.
She is a sometime gamer. She's joined me in she played Living Greyhawk in the first year. She didn't stick it
cool.
out as long as I did. But
Nice.
yeah, she had characters. We played at tables together. She's come back to play when I was basically play testing my revamps of these for the Roll20.
Oh, nice.
So she's helped me play test those. And yeah, that will
Zeef
probably
was awesome.
continue.
Yeah, exactly. That sounds like a great thing you've got going on there to have someone be
Yeah.
so supportive.
And I want to plug something else that I'm involved with. I talked about this last time, but it's now actually getting close to the date, early February 6th. I belong to an art collective, and we do various different shows. It's obviously online right now, and the next one is going to be my first curated art show, and so I want to get people involved. I'll put a link in for that as well. But
Cool.
It's a fun concept. The art collective is called the Paper Cut Arcade. We exist in Vancouver, but now we exist in the world because everything's online anyway. And my project is, and I'm looking for any artists who want to do this kind of stuff, is basically your art, any medium, so long as we can kind of share it online somehow, whether it's music or paintings or a cocktail recipe or whatever. But the idea is that you are role playing an artist. So I'm always tying in my role playing stuff, but
Nice.
it's called post-human romantic. So the idea is you're in character as a post-human artist of the romantic school of thinking. What does that mean? Well, I'm going to be doing some kind of lectures on that and interactive stuff to get our artists involved. But the actual art show is going to be on the 6th of February. You can see stuff linked there. And I think
Very
that's
cool.
going to be really fun. We'll have people, telling us what it's like for an AI to have romantic notions of where inspiration comes from and stuff like that. Yeah, other than that, I'll just keep with my games. I'm currently playing Tenra Bancho Zero on Thursdays. I'm playing Shadowrun on Fridays. I'm playing Star Wars Age of Empire on Tuesdays, but a bunch of those are coming to an end really soon. So I'm just about to start running a Wraith the Oblivion campaign for my Thursday group, and we'll be very soon starting to play the Alien RPG on Tuesdays once we
Oh my
finish our Star
gosh.
Wars.
Hey,
Wow.
mixing it up, man.
Yeah.
Loving it, and yeah, definitely, I'm going to be coming to those virtual cons and playing and running stuff for Greyhawk and just about anything else that interests me.
Alien's an amazing system. I suggest everyone try it once.
Really?
I played it once, and it was
Cool.
it's scary as the movies. I tell you what.
Cool.
It's a great. I like the system. I like the mechanics.
Mutant Year Zero uses the same mechanics, and we
Yeah,
played a bunch of that.
We did some whatever the fantasy equivalent is of that.
Cool. And finally, Russ.
Yep. Well, I married my living Greyhawk partner in crime. So
Wow.
I've been,
Wow.
after
nice.
doing the Pathfinder freelancing thing, I kind of slipped into parent mode, and we're raising our 3 kids.
Okay.
So my Iron Gods Pathfinder game has been on hiatus thanks to quarantine for a year.
Hmm.
I did do a little bit of 5th online, and I might try and bring back Iron Gods online, since it's obviously we're not getting back to normal anytime soon.
Did you write any part of the Iron Gods adventure path?
Yeah, I didn't write the AP, but I wrote half of the source book that went with the campaign.
I have.
Damn.
And half of the maybe a third of the technology guide. So a lot of the equipment was mine.
Very
So,
cool.
yeah, the artifact that kills everything living in a wide radius was my idea. For example, the extinction wave device.
I haven't gotten to play like a complete Pathfinder adventure path, and I feel like one of these days I want to do that. I want to put the
That's
group
the one.
together to do it.
Iron Gods is fun. Curse of the Crimson Throne is amazing.
Yeah.
Legacy of Fire, if you like more classic fantasy, is great.
Hey, can we maybe do this in the future, Jay, on either a Gavin or one of these Legends and Lore shows? Maybe we talk to Russ, maybe we talk Mona and Bullman if they'll join us, and what Pathfinder adventures could be ported to Greyhawk. I don't think their feelings would be hurt by those.
Oh, no, my gosh,
questions.
no.
That
They'd
could
love
be-
to come
that could be
back.
great.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be a
Fun
great
Greyhawk.
Yeah.
topic?
That's a Gavin topic over a Legends of
Yeah.
Lore.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I'll work on that. I owe Eric a call anyway for when he's going to play Venarium Void again. Relishes, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
I owe him to figure out when we're going to see that character again, and like we did in Greyhawk.
Greyhawk itch. So I might try and do something in Greyhawk again.
Well, we'd love to see it, Russ. I mean, if you really want to do DM something for Gary Con in the Virtual Greyhawk Adventures, please just get with Casey and me, and
My name's
we'll.
Gary Cohn.
Oh, don't get with me. This is all Jay.
Well,
Just
let's
reach out to me
let's-
and I'll put you in touch with him.
let's tell you what's going on the channel tomorrow night. Finally, after however many sittings, the finale of Against the Cult of the Reptile God. You know, I run a classic adventure this is adventure number 894. I haven't ran one since 699, so it's been a while. And we are going to finish this finally tomorrow night. Huge quarterly Miniature Building Authority gift certificate. Our first ever sponsor, $75 or $25 gift certificate will be given away tomorrow night to Miniature Building Authority. What a great sponsor they are. Let me see if I got. And here I'll sneak preview out. Here's the I got the terrain. Here's the table is ready to go for tomorrow night. Okay, you know. So
Yes.
I'm a hardcore tabletop miniatures guy.
Minor globe of vulnerability ready.
That looks great.
So we are good. So
Water.
yeah. So I do the best I can in the miniatures tabletop
I
style.
busted Jay's balls about water in a sewer setting a couple months ago.
Hey,
so
Frank.
That's why I'm
Yes.
cheering.
So
that is tomorrow night, and then we go right into another game on Saturday. By the way, I'm not bragging. Tomorrow's my last day of work for the year, and then I'm off till the Monday after New Year's because I got 5 weeks of vacation I got to use for my company. It's use it or lose it, so boom, I'm done. Tomorrow's my last day, so I got a lot of time on my hands and nothing really going on that much. So we're having a Saturday night special on one-shotter on Saturday. So the following players are in. I know we had this question. Oh, anytime, Frank. All right, so Anna's playing, and Anna's playing her Ranger Mage Imri. Everyone knows 6/6 Ranger Mage Elf. Mike Disney is playing for the first time ever.
Very
in
cool.
my game. He's playing a Specialty Priest of Moradin. All right. Chuck Gumbo is playing. He's playing a human specialized fighter, multiple specialized in two-handed weapon and with a single-handed weapon shield. So he's a multi-stage fighter. Amy Crittenden's playing now. Amy, I got to get with her. Oh yeah. So Amy's playing. A couple of my regulars are playing. I think Bill and the Ever Mysterious Tim are in there, and then someone whose last name is Julian I asked, and he hasn't gotten back to me yet with a yes or no. And that would, if Gary plays, then Mike would be able to play too. So, you know what I'm saying? So, yes.
Mike won't play without Gary?
Well, see, Mike's got Joseph Koser.
I'm his trusty squire.
His squire to the priest of St. Bane, especially priest of St. Bane, who is Gary's.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, I may end up with like 10 players because everyone in the last seconds go, I can play now, right?
Hey,
and so,
if my Saturday night thing gets
wait,
canceled,
what does that mean?
Wait,
What does that mean, Gary? Wait. So yeah, so I'm trying to guilt him in the chat here, but it's going to be a one-shotter. If I say something, I'll wait. I can't give away anything. It's called Mystery of Freeman's Bank. I got to get Anna to put it on the map though. Still, so yes, Gary, because he has your squire. Yes, Mike would be in too if you play. You have the priest of St. Bane, and Mike is your squire. So
but
yes,
say Mike can't play unless Gary plays, and then you can make Gary feel bad.
Well, I didn't even bring it up yet to Mike because Gary hasn't said yes yet. So I was going to wait.
No, you should hold that sword over.
Absolutely, they would both be in.
We're kind of like Kato and the Green Hornet.
Yes, absolutely. Because then, yeah. So you let me know if you can play in there, and I will make it work. So absolutely, I'll get it all to work. It would be a great all-star cast, especially if we throw Tim and Bill in there too. And I'll be 7 characters. I got that. That's a snap. So that is Saturday night. Sunday night, treasure and magic items will be the discussion. All right, we had my favorite monsters last week. No one else has said they're in as guests besides Anna and me, but we can handle it. So, but we'll get some other guests on, and we're going to discuss. There's a big talk in chat last week about intelligent weapons, and I want to go there. I really want to talk about what I do and what a lot of people do for intelligent swords and other weapons. So, what's that damn for?
I may have to just pop on for 15 minutes if you're talking intelligent weapons.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
unless you just unplug me, which is also fine. You're
we can discuss that. I got a whole weekend now where to discuss all that. We need to talk about Hogsbane. I don't even want to know what that is, Chuck. So weapon or ambulance weekend adventure. There you go. I'm all for everything. Big scale. I don't know what we're doing Legends and Lore next week. I had a topic, but then some of the people can't make it, so we're to be determined for next week's Legends and Lore. All right. So what's going on? Big February, Friday, Saturday, Underdark Uprising, 3rd annual Greyhawk Mega Stream fundraiser. All right, first year we raised $1,020, 3 channels. Last year we raised $2,500, 5 channels. This year we have at least 8 channels, maybe 9. Okay, so we're going to run this 2 days, and let's raise, and we do it for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Let's raise even more money, February 19th and 20th. And it won't be one story arc all the way through. It'll be different, just, stories about the Underdark. So you have an idea where that goes. All right. Then, lastly, Luke Gygax came to me and said, "You did a great job with Greyhawk Con. Because we went virtual, can you redo what you did for Greyhawk Con inside Gary Con?" I said, yes. And then he said, but
let's do it instead of 3 days, 4 days, and we went 24 hours streaming the entire time. I'm like, my head exploded, right? So right now we have 24 events in. We need to get your, if you're DMing, you need to get your events in. If you're a streamer and you're all going to be on my main schedule of streaming, you need to get your events in because we're down to about a month. I don't want to do this all last second. So there's a lot of channels that haven't gotten them in. I will say the ones that have. Wicked Studios has his in. Wiley Hobbit has his in. I have 10 events. Plus we have a new cool, came up with this idea. I think Anna likes this. It's called, oh God, now I lost where it was. All right, here are the 10 events I got. We're going to have a little talk show. I'm going to block some people out called Greyhawk After Dark. After the streams are done. You like that? See, Casey just smiled. After the streams are done each night, it'll be around, and this is midnight Eastern to 1 a.m. before the New Zealander streamers start. And we'll just go over what happened during the day and have some guests on, along with all the other things that are going on during Greyhawk Con. But we really, the streamers' schedule's covered. The DMs for games, we need more people, and that's where I'm asking if you really have an idea, just get with me and I'll work with you and we'll flesh it out how to do it. It's not that, Zoom or Discord, that's all you need, or another medium to connect to your players. That's all you need. If you're, it's not too bad, not too hard to do. Gitano Grendelwolf, thank you for getting yours in. John, thank you for getting yours in. Casey, thank you for getting yours in. Scott Casper has 2 games in for us. Chantel has a game in for us. Prometheus has 2 games in for us. So I want to say thanks to everyone's gotten their games in already. So please help us out, man. It's going to be a blast. It's going to be a fun time. And then we'll have virtual Greyhawk Con will be next October 1st weekend. So
they need to use code 05, right?
05. We have our own event code, custom event code for, don't use one.
So they can track
05.
the participation.
Well, so we can have, and we can advertise for it too. So Armin, he is in. He has a game. He has 2 New Zealand games that'll be late night on the Friday morning, Saturday morning. He'll kick off those early morning games. Thanks, Armin. Good to see you. He's 19 hours ahead of us. So we figured out the time slots and all.
The
so
future.
We got it all covered. And that's what we have for tonight. Thank you, everyone. What a great show. Great discussion.
Yeah.
Thank you for hanging in there. And we'll see you all. We're going to raid into Troller Games because they're doing a game now. So, and Troller is such a great sponsor. So let's raid into them. And hey, Naz, good to see you. Anyone else? Last words?
Just thank you, Jake,
Thank you.
And Casey for putting all this together.
Look at that. We still got 130
John was
people on.
huge for this one
Bear rampant.
as well.
Barrels.
It was good to see all of you again. It's been
good
so
to
long.
see
It's
Yeah.
great.
Same.
Hey, maybe this is a reconnect to run a game here and there, right? Because you do it virtually.
Why
you know?
not?
Absolutely.
I got lots of time.
Anytime. Thank you. And we'll. I'm gonna I always hit the wrong button here. You know what? Let's go to the hyped up Jay song music stuff. How's this sound? Did I hit the right one? I did.
Can't hear it here, but the audience can.
Oh, you can't hear it?
No,
Oh.
we can't hear it.
we can't
Oh,
hear it.
because of the way it's set. All right.
Well,
Yeah.
you have the option to share your computer audio.
Setting the raid up into here we go. Raiding into Trollord. Starting it up. Let's see if we can get over 60.
So I hope everyone had fun on the show tonight. Russ, Mike,
Absolutely. 10
John,
seconds.
Denise, thanks for joining us. Hope the audience had a good
5,
time.
4, 3.
All 120 of them.
Yeah, good night, everybody.
Raid
Right,
going
everyone.
in. Going into
Right.
Troller Games.
All right.
1 second here. Let me.
So we'll chat for a little bit.
Yeah, we can
if you
hang.
want to. What you guys are West Coast, so it's probably like
Oh, yeah.
past your dinner time. or
7:30.
something.
Yeah, I'm getting kind of hungry.
Yeah, I gotta go because of my partner's.
Denise, thank you. Thank you so
Yeah,
very much.
Denise, hope you had fun.
Yeah,